if you would, please just take a moment and look at your minutes from last month. Let me know if anything needs to be changed or make a motion to approve it or not.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
You need anybody's name?
Yeah, do you want us to,
Yeah.
Because I'm keeping track and then he's maybe keeping track.
Yeah,
So,
Sorry,
for minutes
my
purposes,
responsibilities as a minute keeper, I'll make sure to do that, so, but I don't know names.
yeah, so do you want, so full name?
Yes, please.
Nathaniel Schwartz.
SCH.
SCHWARTZ.
Yeah, and you made the motion?
Motion.
The second was you, ma'am? Okay,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes passed.
And then will he have a document to sign? Do you have the document to sign?
You have the minutes signed already here.
Well, usually they give them to us right away, but I only have the
Well,
minutes.
You may have the minutes.
I only
You
have
may
the
give
minutes
back.
in my packet.
Yeah, the packet's got a copy, but I don't, Charlie usually gives us one, yeah.
an unsigned copy of,
Right, so
of the
you'll need to
minutes
sign
here.
them, and then you'll need to pass them to Jeremy and he'll sign them.
Okay, I'm gonna, just for the record, I'm gonna mark out Mr. Perkins' name here and put mine. No offense, Charlie.
Had a biking accident. That's what they were just talking about, yeah.
Okay, you pass that down, please? Thank you.
Do you need a second copy, Jim?
What's
Do you need a
that?
second copy?
Yeah, I'll have to sign 2 of them.
Okay,
We've got one.
I've got a second copy.
He's got it coming.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got it
You
coming.
always sign two, okay?
Yep.
Sign this one as well? Okay, Gina?
Yep, don't forget your microphones on down there if you need them. It's not coming on.
Thank you,
There
yes.
you go.
How do you choose this one?
Sorry about that.
And there's the other one.
Okay.
And then whenever you're ready, Ben, you'll swear in anybody that's gonna speak.
Okay, who are our speakers? Who's? All right, am I in charge of keeping order of who speaks in which order, or do we just swear them all in at once?
You just swear them in at once.
Okay, if everybody who plans to speak tonight would please stand and raise your right hand. I state your name. Swear or affirm that the statements given tonight will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I think,
You can just ask, yeah, you can just
Yes.
ask them if they swear.
okay, this is, look, usually when I do this, it's in a courtroom, a little more formality. Okay, does everyone swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Just say yes. Yes. Okay.
Thank you all. So with that being done, we're ready for our first one of the night.
What's your name, sir, please?
Noah Smith.
Okay, Mr. Smith, thank you.
All right, so first application of the evening, we have the sign plan for 1000 Lemons Mill. The case number is GE 2026-24. The proposal is a conditional use permit for an interstate sign, and then 6 variance proposals for the display of wall signs. The property is currently zoned as a mix of B2 and R2. Surrounding zones are B4, R3, R2, I1, and A1. The current lot acreage is 19.32 acres. Direct access is from Artist Way, either from McClellan Circle or Lemons Mill Road, and staff recommends denial of the application as proposed. You can see here the zoning map. You can see how the property is a mix of that R2 and B2. We are located on the B2 portion of the property right now. Seen here is a picture from March of 2026. You can see how there's that construction of the gas station. Construction has kind of come further along since that picture was taken. So a little bit of background. This application is the sign plan for the Huck's gas station on the property. The final development plans for the site have been approved. Construction is close to completion. The 19.32 acre lot was consolidated in June of this year. The project site has that mix of B2 and R2 zoning as a result. It may be further subdivided later according to that zoning. The sign package includes that conditional use permit for the interstate sign, as well as those 6 variances for the wall signs. So we'll kind of start with the interstate sign here, the conditional use permit. You can see a staff exhibit of that on the right. You can see how it is a 35-foot tall freestanding sign. The sign ordinance defines any sign that exceeds 25 feet in height as an interstate sign. And so with this sign being 35 feet in height, it would be the interstate, it would be qualified as an interstate sign. Interstate signs are a conditional use permit in the B2 zoning district. And Section 10 of the Georgetown sign ordinance does outline a specific set of standards that interstate signs need to meet in order for that conditional use permit to be approved. So all of those requirements are outlined in the staff report there. For the sake of just being clear and concise, we're just going to focus on a few of those requirements with the presentation. Section 10.3 requires that interstate signs may be located within a 3,500 foot radius of the center point of an interstate exit. The nearest interstate exit to this project site is exit 125 of I-75, and the project site is about 6,510 feet outside of that radius. So we're an additional 3,000 feet outside of the radius for interstate signs. And so if an interstate sign can't be placed within that radius, then the, per that provision of the ordinance, the application should be denied. It may be out of batteries, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. So another sighting standard for interstate signs, Section 10.7 provides that if an interstate sign is illuminated, it needs to be 150 feet away from any residential zone property. And then in addition, the leading edge of an interstate sign shall be a minimum distance of 1,000 feet away from an abutting residential use. So the nearest active residential use, and we can go back to the zoning map for reference, it is the Mansion Estates to the east. And this interstate sign would be about 565 feet away from those homes. So it would not be 1,000 feet removed from an abutting residential use in this case. So all of those sighting requirements of the Georgetown sign ordinance are intended to protect public health, the public welfare by disallowing interstate signs where they are incompatible with the surrounding area. And if a proposal for an interstate sign doesn't meet those sighting requirements, then the conditional use permit should be denied. And so staff does have the following notes. It's not located within that required radius of I-75 exits. It would be too close to nearby residential uses to be legally placed. It would generate nuisance in the form of incompatible aesthetic character because of the sign's height and illumination. And conditions cannot really be enacted so as to meet sighting requirements because there just is no location on site where this interstate sign could meet those siding standards. Would you mind going back one? Thank you. So findings, the interstate sign would be located within the B2 portion of the project site. The sign would be 35 feet in height, and any sign that is over 25 feet in height is an interstate sign. Interstate signs are an allowable conditional use in the B zone if they can meet all of the requirements outlined in Section 10 of the sign ordinance. Those requirements of Section 10 are in place to protect the public welfare, to protect the character of surrounding zones, and to prevent nuisance to residents of the city of Georgetown. The sign as proposed does not meet those dimensional standards. It does not meet those siding requirements, and so the site is just not legally eligible for that interstate sign. And then lastly, a variance is requested as it relates to this sign for the digital sign area, and we will kind of get into that after we've gone over the conditional use permit. And so staff does recommend denial of the conditional use permit for an interstate sign because the property just does not meet those siding standards. We have our standard conditions of approval, and then we have 2 unique conditions. 4, the sign shall not be illuminated so as to prevent nuisance to adjoining residential zones. And then 5, the sign shall be 50 feet removed from all property lines. And so with this being a conditional use permit, as staff, we would recommend that this one especially, be a separate motion and vote from the variances. And so as the board, are y'all comfortable voting and making a motion on the conditional use permit?
Do y'all have any questions or anything first?
Would the applicant like to
Yeah, or
speak?
the applicant.
So,
Yes.
yep.
Scott Elpers, custom sign, from Evansville, Indiana. The site, I don't know if you've seen this site from the location of where the pole sign is. That sign is going to sit about 9 feet down in a hole. So I understand the importance of calling it an interstate sign because it's 35 feet tall, but we're not wanting like an interstate visibility. We're not wanting to be 35 feet above the roadway. We're just wanting to be approximately 25 feet above the roadway, which is what we're permitted. So we're adding the height of the sign merely to get visibility because we're set in a hole. There were options to move the sign further to the north. However, with the lay of the lot and the parking lot, the way it was approved, there's power lines that run down through there, and the utility company will not allow us to do that. They've only approved this sign location for the actual installation location. So we really don't want an interstate sign. We want basically the same size road sign as we would be permitted, but just add an extra height to get the visibility at 25 feet. As far as the digital portion being stated that it's oversized, it's just 2 gas prices. Those gas prices are only 24 inches by 63 inches. So we're looking at about 24 square feet, which is below the allowed. The staff has included the entire square footage of that sign, but it's not all digital. It's just the gas prices. And there's a little panel that has like member, non-member on it. So we're really not over our square footage. It's just the way it's calculated, I guess you would say. It's not like it's a video board where the entire portion of it's digital.
Okay.
Is there any other information needed? Any questions we have?
I think the sign, if we were just permitted at 25 foot, the exact same sign could be permitted. You know what I'm saying? If we lower it down to 25 feet, but our visibility is the issue. So, I mean, with it being a nuisance for the you know, the residential area there. It's the exact same sign. We're just gonna lower it 10 feet to meet code, but we would like to have it for the visibility. From,
Okay. So one of the questions for staff I was gonna ask is, if the sign was 25 feet, would they even need to have applied for a conditional use permit?
No. So,
Okay.
being in the B2 zone, they would have a by right 25-foot tall pole or pylon sign.
Okay.
The only thing that would keep it from being by right would be the digital display area being in excess of,
But that's one of the separate variances, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. So as far as the height goes, you're recommending denial because it's 35 feet, but are you also considering that it would be 10 feet underground?
Yes, so we did consider that at the time of, writing the report and making the recommendation. The way that the ordinance defines sign height, it is very clear. It is from where the sign enters the ground to its top. And so a 35-foot sign is a 35-foot tall sign.
Okay.
We did consider the change in elevation towards McClellan Circle, and we found that just, it would not necessitate the 10-foot tall increase. There would still be the visibility if you had just a 25-foot tall by right sign.
Is there any more discussion that we need to have on it, or do we all feel comfortable making a motion on it?
I mean, oof. If you're not able to get 10 feet into the ground, what's your next option? How are you able to put something in there that is able to be the size it needs to, but also have enough to go into the ground?
what would happen is you would have to decrease the size of the sign in order to get the sign higher off of the ground. But the problem when doing that is you decrease the visibility of the gas price. Unfortunately, the petroleum industry is one of the only industries that displays price out on their road sign, or their marketable item. And people will drive across town in most cases to save 2 cents on a gallon of gas. We have to be visible. 24-inch gas price. I think if you look at the Shell sign right next to it, it's a 36-inch gas price, but they're just displaying one price. We choose to display both because they have a diesel canopy there for trucks to come in. It's very important to display diesel price. So we feel that the sign square footage meets code. Everything about the sign I can put there. If we meet the 25 foot, for visibility.
Yeah.
And if we, to make it work, we would have to decrease, which would decrease the effectiveness of the visibility, the line of sight. There's a huge long distance of readability there that we need.
Well, I think the 25 is okay as permitted, but I'm trying to see if we can get you some more space inside the ground to, set it up correctly. I think that's what
As far as like building something up or,
right, because the sign itself is 35, but 10 of it's underground, correct?
no,
no.
From ground level, the convenience store sets down in a hole there, okay?
I thought you
So-
said you had 10 feet of in-ground to go.
To the roadway is
I see.
approximately
Okay.
10 feet.
All right, thank you, that helps.
So
Sorry,
for
guys.
visibility on the main highway,
Okay,
our sign would look like it's only 25 feet tall.
because of the dip that you have, but not into the ground.
That is correct,
I
yes.
see. Okay. Okay, I'm good.
So really, on the 2-lane road there, the sign's gonna appear to be 25 feet tall.
I see.
Right.
It's just when you're looking at it from the gas station or the side street, it's gonna look 35 feet tall.
Yeah.
And like I say, the road, or the property does or the roadway actually goes down to the north. However, there's power lines and we can't put it there. We have to maintain a 10-foot safe distance away from the power lines.
So we have understanding that if we were to, I guess, accept the recommendation for the denial, that he still gets to go along with that? Because then he wouldn't have needed that to begin with, is that what you said?
Yes, sir. Based on the provisions of the ordinance,
Mhm.
a 25-foot tall pole sign would be a by right option.
Okay.
And
And,
the only real variance would be in relation to the digital display area.
Right, as far as the height, if it's 25 feet, he doesn't need any other
Mhm.
conditional uses or variances for the height
Yeah,
portion.
they could do that by right.
okay. So I put a motion to deny on the, per the staff report.
Second.
And you want to state your name for Mr. Willis?
Thank you. I know her, but.
Jeremy.
Jeremy, okay.
Emerson.
That's right. Your name's here. Okay, thank you.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah. Okay. Motion passed. All right.
All right, so we will kind of move on to the second element of this application, which is the wall signs. Okay, thank you. All right, so as it relates to the variances, the sign plan depicts a total of 6 sign variances. They are as follows. The increase to the digital display area of the interstate sign from 30% to 44%. The variance to display 3 wall signs toward a single frontage. The variance to display a wall sign toward the north of the site. Where the building does not have street frontage. Variance number 4, variance to increase wall sign number maximums to allow the gas station awning signs to be displayed as proposed. Variance 5, applying to the whole site. Variance to increase the maximum display area of all of the wall signage from 250 square feet to 365 square feet. And then variance number 6, to increase the maximum number of allowable wall signs from 4 to 6. And so each of those are going to be numbered accordingly, and we're going to apply KRS 100-243 to each of those. So KRS 100-243, findings necessary for granting variances. The board must find that the granting of the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of zoning regulations. The board shall also consider whether, A, the requested variance arises from special circumstances which do not generally apply to land in the vicinity or in the zone. B, the strict application of the regulation would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or would create an unnecessary hardship on the applicant. C, the circumstances are the result of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulations from which relief is sought. And then 2, the board shall deny any request for a variance arising from circumstances that are the result of willful violations of the zoning ordinance. So that first variance is the increase in changeable copy area for the interstate sign. So the sign ordinance requires that the changeable copy area of any interstate sign shall not exceed 30%. This proposed interstate sign has a digital display area of 44% of the total sign face, and so this variance is requested for the additional 14%. Because the project site is not eligible for that conditional use permit for an interstate sign, this variance is not applicable at this time because it applies directly to that 35-foot tall interstate sign. And so staff doesn't recommend at this time that the variance be further considered, just because it pertains directly to that interstate sign and because that interstate sign was just denied. So the second variance, you can see the staff exhibit there. This is facing towards Lemons Mill Road. You have the Godfather's Pizza sign, the Cluck's sign, and then you have the Huck's sign. So you have a total of 215 square feet across those three signs facing in the same direction. So the variance is requested for those three wall signs as shown to be approved. The sign ordinance makes the allowance that buildings with multiple tenants are granted one wall sign per each tenant, and so this is allowable. What the sign ordinance does not allow, and where the variance is needed in this case, is the extra square footage for this situation. The ordinance would mandate that basically you get up to a maximum of 150 square feet displayed towards Lemons Mill Road. And in this case, the sum total of those three signs is that 215 square feet. And so the multi-tenant signs are by right upon this facade. The extra square footage displayed towards that single frontage is what would need the variance in this case. So as we just kind of went over KRS 100-243, not going to read it all again, but in terms of effect on public health, safety, or welfare, we as staff find that there would be none. In terms of the effect of character, because the character of Lemons Mill Road, at least eastbound from McClellan Circle, it is primarily residential in nature. Staff does find that three wall signs of increased size would kind of alter the character of that road. In terms of unreasonable circumvention, for that additional 65 square feet for these three signs to be displayed towards Lemons Mill Road, that would be an increase of 25% over the maximum display area. And so that would unreasonably circumvent the sign ordinance in this case. In terms of special circumstances, the cited special circumstance is the multi-tenant business setup, where you have those three businesses in the one building. And so while this is unique, it is something that the sign ordinance directly makes allowances for. In this case, each tenant would get its own sign. They would just be limited to 50 square feet each. So in terms of reasonable use or unnecessary hardship, would denial create an unnecessary hardship? We as staff find that that denial would not create hardship because each tenant still retains its right to its own wall sign. They would only just have that limitation of 50 square feet each. So kind of moving right along here, variance number 3 is to display a wall sign toward a property boundary which does not have direct street frontage. The applicant requests this variance to put it on the north wall of the building, and the Georgetown sign ordinance does require that wall signs must be displayed toward a street upon which the building directly fronts. And so with this north-facing sign, that does not directly face Artist Way, and so the variance is needed in this case. We've got a 50 square foot sign with this variance displayed above that rear entrance, and it would have internal illumination. So again, just to kind of briefly apply KRS 100-243, the effect on public health, safety, or welfare, we as staff find there would be none. Effect on character, this would be an illuminated sign. It would face in a direction to which there is no street frontage. Wall signs, because they're displayed at a high elevation upon a building, and because this one would be illuminated, that would have a pretty clear demonstrable effect on character. This would face toward a residential zone to the north, as we saw on the zoning map earlier. And, within that residential zone, there's the reasonable expectation that residential development will come in there in the near future. And so we as staff do believe that the display of an illuminated wall sign toward that residential zone where there is no direct street frontage, that would alter the character of the surrounding zones. In terms of unreasonable circumvention, because the ordinance is fairly explicit that wall signs must directly face a street upon which the building fronts, this variance would directly contradict that regulation, and it would therefore unreasonably circumvent it. In terms of special circumstances, as it relates to this specific wall sign, we find that there are no special circumstances. And then lastly, in relation to the question of would denial create unnecessary hardship, we find that no. If this variance were to be denied, the wall sign could be displayed without a variance upon the east side of the building where it directly fronts upon Artist Way. So those by right options would remain without the variance. And variance 4, this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated. And so if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. We have a gas station awning to the south of the building facing towards towards Lemons Mill Road. And on that canopy, we have advertising signs for the business. So the sign ordinance does make the provision that signage incorporated as part of an awning, in this case, as you can see in that picture, it must be regulated in the same manner as wall signs. And so, because they must be regulated in the same manner as wall signs, that triggers more variances in this case. The first of these two signs, it is the second down, the south canopy. That would face towards Lemons Mill Road. This sign would require additional variances because it adds that fourth sign facing towards Lemons Mill Road, and then it would also add an additional 50 square feet of sign area facing south. So you've got 265 total square feet facing in that single direction. And again, the ordinance makes the provision that typically you do not want more than 150 feet facing it toward a single street. And then the third down, the east side facing of the canopy, that sign would also require a variance because it adds an additional 50 square feet to the total wall sign area for the site in general. Literal interpretation of the sign ordinance would mandate that this site has 250 square feet as a maximum. And so with this sign being further in excess of that maximum, it would also require that wall sign variance. So again, no effect on public health, safety, or welfare, effect on character. The project site directly adjoins residential zones. This variance for an increase in wall signage may have the capacity to alter the residential character of those surrounding zones. Unreasonable circumvention. These signs would add an additional 100 square feet of wall signage over the typically allowed maximum for this site, and that would create unreasonable circumvention. Special circumstances, the variance for these two canopy signs does not rise from unique circumstances. The same standard should be applied in any B2 zoned commercial use. And then last, in terms of reasonable use or unnecessary hardship, we as staff find that denial would not create hardship because even if this variance were to be denied, if all other variances would be denied, the by right signage needed for clear and immediate identification would remain without variances. And then lastly here, just kind of wrapping it up, variances 5 through 6 are these increases for the site as a whole. So those other variances applied for, specific signs or, specific building facades. These variances, 5 and 6, would apply to the entire project site. The ordinance establishes holistic maximums for lots. So variance 5 would be to increase the total sum of wall signage from the 250 square foot maximum to the 365 square foot maximum as shown on the sign package. And then variance 6, kind of in a similar vein, literal interpretation of the sign ordinance would give this site total number of 4 wall signs. You would get the 1 as a baseline, a second for the secondary frontage, and then you would have 2 additional signs, 1 for each additional tenant, for a total of 4. And staff does, point out, this property does have triple frontage, but the sign ordinance does not explicitly account for additional wall signs or wall sign square footage in the case of tertiary frontages. And so the variances are still needed. And so the sign package depicts, the 6 total wall signs, and it would need that variance for the additional 2. Because these 2 variances are kind of odd, they both kind of directly arise from the individual wall signs that we've just looked at. The points of analysis would remain the same in relation to KRS 100-243. Because we find that the sign-specific variances do not meet the standards of KRS, we also find that these holistic variances for the whole site, because they directly arise from the individual signs, would similarly not meet the standards for relief. So findings, project site is a 19.32 acre property, zoned both B2 and R2. The area for which these signs are proposed is zoned B2. The sign variances listed are proposed that the sign package can be approved as shown. The project site is adjacent to residential zones, and it therefore should be expected not to disturb surrounding neighborhoods. These proposed variances, because they are increases in signage, would be likely to have a negative effect on the nearby residences at the Mansion Estates. Variance 1, in this case, is not applicable because it pertains directly to an interstate sign, which was just denied. Number 5, the variances as proposed would not meet the standards of KRS because A, they would alter the character of the general vicinity, particularly in relation to that adjoining residential zone to the east. The variances would create unreasonable circumvention and in some cases contradict zoning regulations. C, in some cases the variances arise from special circumstances. The sign ordinance does make allowances for situations of that nature that would not need the variances. There are no circumstances unique to the site which would necessitate these variances. And then D, denial of the variances would not create hardship because the by right alternatives remain, such as the freestanding pylon sign and the 4 by right wall signs. And then lastly, variances 5 and 6 apply to the whole site, and they directly result from those individual sign variances. So staff recommends the following. Recommend that the first variance is not applicable because it pertains directly to the interstate sign. We recommend denial of the following 5 sign variances. And then if the board elects to approve any of these variances, we have the following conditions of approval. These are general, and we would recommend that these could apply equally to all of these variances that might be approved. Our standard conditions, first 3, and then 4 and 5 are unique conditions that would apply to any of the variances. So, thank you for bearing with me through that. I understand that was a lot. Does the board have any questions for staff at this time?
No, if I could just add one thing.
Yeah.
Going back to the first variance, obviously, it would not be directly applicable at this point. However, if the applicant would like to speak to the change from 30% to 44%, understanding that if the sign comes down from 35 to 25, that's going to get smaller. But if it stays proportional, that still may be required. If they would like to bring that forward, we could discuss that as well. And so you could either say it's not applicable anymore, or you could take it up as a percentage. Either would still work. Any questions of staff related to either the analysis or the recommendations?
Number 5, the 250 square feet for the building itself is regardless of how many tenants or how many road frontages you have, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to add?
In regards to the pole sign and the digital portion, the only thing that we would do to change that sign would be to cut 10 foot of pole off of it, okay, and bring it to 25 feet tall. Like I said, the calculation that they show 30% or 44% is squaring off the entire sign that's not digital. The only digital portion of that sign is 2 price signs that are 24-inch by 63-inch. So is that how they normally calculate that, is the entire sign cabinet, not the actual digital portion? It's not, like I say, it's not a message center that has a 3 foot by 7 foot display being 21 square feet where you would. So I'm kind of confused as to why we're getting 44 square feet when we only have about 24 square feet, which actually meets code.
I think they'll give them a second. I think
Go
they'll
ahead.
address it.
So I'll speak generally to how sign square footage is typically calculated as Noah checks his math. So whenever we're looking at sign sizes, what we're really calculating is what's the smallest box that we can draw a line around the sign area, and then we do the math on that. And so in this case, anything from the bottom of that diesel reader section all the way up to glasses, Godfather's Pizza, that's one section of sign, and then we would draw a separate box around the hooks at the top. No, I'm sure you're looking at the math right now, yeah?
Yes, the calculation was
Here, you want?
So, the way we reached that number is, it's included in your packet as well, if you would like to turn there on paper. What that calculation was based on is the 85 inches you see at the bottom, times the 112 inches you see to the side. And so I'll double check my math on a calculator here, just to be sure.
Everyone's around me. I don't know how to math anymore.
I guess we'll just ask for clarification from the applicant while we're sitting here.
And the digital portion is like the pricing, correct?
Yes. That's not even the entire black section there, it's just 2
Right.
small signs, which would be matched.
Maybe that's the question. So as you can see on the form that we had submitted to us, we show 85 inches by 112.1 inches, which is this box here.
Right.
Would you identify, please, the area that's actually going to be illuminated within that area?
Oh, it's
There's
the
a small
2.
area here,
It's gonna be a lot less.
and a small area
Yep.
here, and then a very small area there.
Oh, okay. What's the small area up there illuminated to be?
it says member, non-member price.
Gotcha, okay.
We know the measurements of that specific portion of the sign, so from the bottom of the word easel to the bottom of that sign.
I don't even know if that's necessary. If the applicant can demonstrate that with that box that he's just outlined right there is less than 30 or equal to 30%, the variance becomes a moot point. And that
Right.
would just be by right. We would just like a more detailed
I'll send
kind
it
of
to you
look.
in
Yeah, would you need us to vote on it, or would we?
Well,
be
if
able
you
to-
wanted to have more leeway, if you believe that something above 30% would be reasonable and would not, inhibit the character of the area or something like that, you could vote to make that recommendation. And then it would just be, again, checking whatever that is against the decision of this board. And so right now you have 30% by right. The way staff calculated it, it would need to go all the way up to 44. If you guys want to do something else, that is still at your discretion.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd, I don't know what you guys think, but I'd want to maybe see what the end number is before we made a decision, but I don't want to delay the time. But I'm sure we'd be able to give a little bit of leeway. The 14%'s a lot, but
So,
looks like that number's going to be different.
So if we just square off the digital portion, not the actual sign cabinet itself, the digital portion, is that what you're saying we can do? We would just square off the actual digital portion. So
Yes.
the outer limit of the gas price from the bottom to the top. And then the width, not the sign cabinet it's housed in, just the digital portion.
That's all we would need.
It will not be over 30%, and I can send that.
Yeah, if you guys think so, I think on that one, obviously, if it's going to hit the 30 or less, then it's a go.
Staff would recommend
something-
voting to deny then. just-
Right, if something comes up above it, then it can be represented if needed. Is that okay? I think that's great. And that was variance 1, right? Okay.
As far as the three signs,
Sorry, I apologize. I'm gonna try to keep up with you.
sure. As far as the three signs on the front of the building, like I say, it is two tenants inside the building. This is a standard sign package. Like I say, it's a 7,940 square foot convenience store, which is a very large convenience store. More store, a whole lot smaller, obviously. Some are larger, but the signs are scaled to fit the building. We have been made in the past, obviously, to make signs smaller. When you put them on there, aesthetically, it looks out of place. We can meet the 50 square feet, obviously, but they will look teeny tiny on that building because of the size of the building. We have scaled this sign package back. We're at about 30% of the signage we normally put for a Huck's convenience store. So we're very much, I think Noah will vouch for us. So if we submitted this, I think he thought we were crazy in the beginning. And we scaled it way back. If you look at every gas station, they have signage on canopies. If you even look at your new Wawa station you have here, I just drove past there, there's Wawa signs on each end of that gas canopy. They have two pole signs, they have more digital space. There's a lot going on there, and that's because we need it as a filling station. Gas canopy with nothing on it will be very blank. We would like just one sign centered on it. Normally, we put signs on the end of the canopy. We've taken those off, trying to get closer to the code. The sign on the back of the building that faces no street frontage, the reason why we want that is because it's above an entrance. It denotes the entrance. We've taken everything else off of the back of that sign. We've taken everything off of the diesel canopy. The only thing we would like is just one sign above the entrance to help guide people to that entrance. We could put the sign on the end of the building. However, we don't have any signage on that end of the building to make up to try and get a sign above the entrance here. Busy station, trying to get people through as quick as possible is what we're looking for. If you're concerned about the illumination, we can put a dimmer on that. Since it is facing a residential area, we can put a dimmer on that. We can dim it at night to where we're good with illumination. We don't want to be a nuisance to our neighbors. We want them to shop there. Basically, we're trying to keep a standard sign package very scaled down to come very close to your ordinance. We will do whatever we need to do to be friendly and help. Normal sign package for a Huck store is about 800 square feet. So we're really scaled back, trying to get close to your code.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that would like to speak before we try to discuss? Go ahead. Did you already?
I did not get sworn in, no, I did not.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do it. Tell them your name.
David Lusby?
Mr. Lesby, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right.
Ironically, I did not come down here tonight to address this specific issue. And Noah did an outstanding job, as does your staff. As you can imagine, you all have dealt with them for quite some time. I had the opportunity to serve on the Georgetown City Council for 29 years with Mr. Chad Wallace. And we were given many sign ordinances over the years. They were pretty cumbersome documents. I can't remember how many pages. I want to say 60-some pages, but it may be more or less than that. But nevertheless, it was pretty significant. And at one time, we only allowed signage on the front of the buildings. And I heard Noah talk tonight that there's 3 streets that surround this particular building, which there are. I'm very familiar with. I'm actually one of the developers of this property. And I'm trying to be helpful really to everybody, quite honestly. And when that issue came to the council, we said, hey, at Hamburg, signage is on the back of the buildings. You know, they're advertising the back of the buildings and the front of the buildings. And we thought, why shouldn't Georgetown do that? You know, that could help the businesses, that could bring people off the interstate and generate more tax revenue. Those were our thoughts. We didn't think about 3 streets, quite honestly, but 3 streets kind of makes sense too. And we always said, let's take a common sense approach. If there's things that we can do that don't have a negative impact on the neighborhood or the neighbors, but can help a business to maybe survive or maybe thrive, that's good for the community as well from an economic standpoint. We all kind of know that. And I heard what he said, that they've scaled the sign package down for the front, and that was kind of my concern back there. I really didn't even want to get up here and speak. But sometimes you can make signage so small, and they've got 3 different businesses in this 7,000 square foot building, it could actually have a negative impact. And that's just one person's opinion. So I guess I just wanted to give some level of support to you all, and certainly to Noah and the fine job that he did. And I'm not going against the recommendation of staff, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of insight from somebody that's had a lot of experience in dealing with this stuff over the years. And being the developer, we're gonna upscale this development in terms of our landscaping. You're gonna see extremely nice signage throughout, the stop signs, the street signs. Everything about this is gonna have an upgraded look. And we definitely support Huck's and some of their requests, obviously with your consent. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm glad to answer any questions. I just wanted to be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, has anybody got any thoughts, or are we ready to make a motion?
The one that you were talking about putting a dimmer on, that's the one that's your rear that faces the north.
That's correct, yes,
Correct.
because it faces their
That one right
residential
there.
area.
Yeah. Number 3.
Normally, we would have,
Yeah, number
Yeah.
3.
normally we would have other signs along that building as well, and we've purposely removed those.
Does the rear actually, does the north actually face residential property, or does it face another commercial lot?
I think it's-
Commercial lot.
I think they said it was a potential residential development.
No, well, there is around it, but he's correct. New Vista is gonna build a new, facility right behind your location. It's gonna be an office, kind of a regional office for New Vista.
We still could put a dimmer on it if that's, we could put dimmers on all these signs if that's, you know, if illumination is the issue because of light emittance, obviously, we can put dimmers on them, and then,
Okay.
obviously, we want them to be illuminated, we want them to be effective, but we also want to be good stewards.
Well, it's a 24/7 operation, correct?
It is. If you look back at the generation, I don't know if you've ever followed Huck stores or not, but they were, I'm gonna say, they were ugly stores. They were pole barns with yellow and red fascia. They've come so far. I think you will be very happy with the building you're getting here, and the signage does complement that building very well. They're very good operators.
Is there a picture of number 4 for the awning?
And once again, these are the minimum we would normally do. I know the gas prices are exempt, and that DEF sign is exempt as well. We took that off as well. We took the DEF off. It's a sign that denotes to truckers that we have DEF for their trucks. We even removed that off of there.
And that's awning that actually angles off the building?
That's a gas canopy. It's a
It's the
freestanding gas canopy.
Okay.
So like
Where
if you look.
the vehicles are parked?
That's
or
exactly right.
Under to fill up, okay.
Like, if you look at the Shell station right across the street there, it has 2 Shell pectins on each side. One on the short side and one on the long side facing the highway. One faces Lemon Mill Road. I don't know of any gas station I've ever done that does not have canopy signs.
Right. Would the awning create 1 or 2 extra signage?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You said it adds a 4th sign facing that street?
Yeah, so because they're facing in separate directions, you've got one facing south and you've got one facing east, those would qualify as 2 separate wall signs.
And that's kind of the bigger picture, because the variance is to go from 4 to 6.
Yeah, those are also the 2 that increase the maximum for
Okay.
the entire site.
Okay.
Similarly, as per the discussions, as it relates to the 3rd variance here, facing to the north, we've received some word that the residential zone, like this property, the 19.4 acre property will be subdivided, and that another development will be located in between this property and the R2 up to the north. That was kind of a recent development. And so, as a result, we would just recommend striking condition number 5.
Striking it from us having to vote, what's that?
So condition of approval number 5 is, wall signs which face east or north toward residential zones shall not be illuminated. In this case, we as staff would recommend just striking the or north part of that language. And just wall signs which face east shall not be illuminated. Because this north-facing wall sign would not face a.
So our packet has number 5 as going from 250 to 365.
So, I'm sorry, I'm talking about conditions of approval.
Gotcha.
I apologize.
That's okay.
So you want us to scratch off north?
Conditions of approval number 5.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the board's discretion whenever you guys.
Understand,
make a
yeah.
motion, you'll have to adjust accordingly.
Oh, okay, there it goes. So number 5 says wall signs which face east or north shall not be illuminated, so we can scratch the north?
If you so choose, yes. And that is if any of these wall
Right.
sign variances get approved.
Right.
That's if they get approved, right?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
If any of them do. Is there any on the east? Are there any towards the east that'll be illuminated?
There is on the end of the gas canopy. So when you're coming down Lemon Mills Road towards the highway,
Okay.
where we have that gas price, you can't see that that's a Huck store because you're looking at the end of the pole sign, and you're looking at the end of the building that's empty. So we have a gas price there, which is exempt, so we'd like to have an identification beside it showing that it's a Huck's convenience store. The gas canopies in many ways do block buildings. Obviously, that's the reason why we try to put the canopy, a sign on the canopy itself for identification purposes. Like I say, obviously, we can meet these codes, there are regulations, there's absolutely no doubt. It's just that it's gonna be, the signs are gonna be very, very small on that big building setting there.
If I may, just add one thing. So in staff's analysis of this, the through line really is, what is or is not an unreasonable circumvention of our zoning ordinance, or in this case, our sign ordinance. Staff has basically reviewed and says that in every single circumstance here, there's another alternative. I think the question for the board at this time is, in totality, is it a reasonable circumvention? And if so, where? And so I think it would be very helpful going through to really look at each of these variances separately. It is one sign package, but in totality, that's really what we're concerned with. So again, if we'll go back to the signage on the back of the building. Having reviewed that to say that, there was potential for residential development to the north, if that's gonna be commercial, and if the applicant's willing to put in a dimmer, maybe that is a reasonable, variance that we can grant them. To facilitate that, then we do need to have that other variance to add that extra wall sign. On the canopy coverage, for the east side in particular, if we're looking at the building, and we don't have any other signage over there, it might be reasonable to expect that that is where we locate that Hux canopy signage. And so, as staff, again, we believe that there are reasonable alternatives that would fall underneath our code. You heard the applicant say he can meet our code. It is just a question of, is in totality, is that what's best for these decisions? Pick and choose.
If we were to decrease those canopy signs, would that be,
I think if you decrease the canopy size, it would come off of the total square footage.
yeah, we can do,
And would
Those are
would it do anything else? You would still want two additional.
we would like two signs, but instead of being 50 square feet apiece, we would go 32 square feet apiece, which would downsize and, take, 36 additional square feet off.
That sounds very reasonable to staff.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for all of you, but I do think we're trying to give some leeway here. We don't want the building to look barren or, foolish or anything like that. It is a big jump from 250 to 365, but I think some of the other allowances I'm okay with, especially with the dimmer on the back sign. What do you all think? But I don't know what that exact number is, but like I said, I think some of these leeways are okay.
Yeah, what would you be able to get that reduction from 365 down to?
365.
Well, if you take 50 down to 32 on each one, it's 18 and
18, so
18,
36
so
square feet.
36 about.
Yeah.
So we're talking to go down to,
What, 319, 329?
yeah, 350 minus that number, or sorry, 365 minus that number. And, they have scaled, like you said, they've scaled back a lot already.
And there will be a sign on the storefront, right?
Yes, that's,
That would be,
if we could go.
That
Yeah, go
was the
back
Yeah, yeah, right there.
So there's a Hux sign above the entrance again,
Right.
right
And then
there.
those two.
And then these are the tenant, basically the tenants that are going to be in there with him.
Yeah, I was thinking in relationship to the to the awning signs.
Yes.
Like the store says it's Hubs, and then the awning sign, that would be gigantic.
Right, we could downsize those, yes.
I don't know if it would be, to do an even round number, would 350 square feet be okay? For the leeway?
and what would we, 350, what was the?
It's 365 right now.
365. Let me say this if I could. These are vacuum form signs, okay? So we have molds made. If I have to downsize those standard signs, it's gonna be probably about a $4,000 or $5,000 expense. If that's what you make them do, they will do that. It's just that they're standard signs that we keep in stock. We will have to custom make them. It'll be at an additional expense to them, but I'm sure they would do that. But obviously, if that's what we gotta do to get it approved, we will do that. But we prefer, for economics, to
Do you have
use our
the 32 in
standard.
a standard size?
I'm sorry,
Do you have the 32 in a standard size?
we do.
Oh, okay. I got you. I see what you're
That's the
saying.
reason why I made that recommendation.
I see. Anything in between would be a custom.
Everything, yes.
I got you.
So going to 32 would cut that 365 down to 329. Am I reading that math correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. So if you wanted to make it an even 330 or something, you could.
Yep. We're fine with that. We would be very appreciative.
Okay, a single street.
So, would we have any comfort trying to make a motion
Yeah, and we'd have to.
on
go
each
through
one?
Each of them.
Sure, Emerson, if I could recommend some language.
Yeah.
So the first would be just to simply deny variance request number 1, relating to the changeable copy signage. And then for variance 2 through 6, I'd recommend, if it's the desire of the board to approve it, the language be something to the effect of recommend approval, but limiting the total number of wall signs to no greater than 6, and a total aggregate sign square footage no greater than 330 square feet,
Yeah, that's the number I was thinking.
and requiring the
Dimmer.
wall signage on the north side of the property to come, actually, to require all illuminated signage to come equipped with dimmer switches. Yeah.
Is that possible for all?
Yeah, most definitely. The only thing we couldn't do,
Is the,
the pole sign.
yeah.
With,
Okay.
in regards to, I could dim the illuminated portion of it, but the price sign portion's automatically dimmed anyway.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, I
daytime
think that's
brightness
okay.
and nighttime brightness.
What's the, on the recommendation number 2, denial to display 3 wall signs toward a single street frontage, where are we at on that?
Because that extra signage is coming from, no, I don't want to speak for you, but that's coming from the awning. And again, they've said that they can reduce that signage. Again, we'd want to facilitate essentially their sign package minus the changeable copy on the pole sign, and then reducing the awning signage from 50 feet down to 32 feet, for a total of no greater than 330
So that
total
would,
square footage.
would that kind of supersede that one?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
gotcha.
because
Okay.
we have recommended languages for approval. You would be coming up with your own language for approval. And then I would also recommend pairing that with your own findings, essentially, that it is not an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning ordinance.
Okay. I don't know. Oh my, putting Willis to work.
Used to typing.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez.
So I'll make a motion on the
Alright.
first one, the motion to deny. Per staff. Do we have a second?
So which one is this?
The number 1, the first one, motion to deny. Per staff.
Oh, so, okay, so, do we have to do that though because of the,
I would.
That was the language.
because of the language, but they're gonna come back to the, then he said he was able to get to the illumination to 30%, okay. Yes, I'll second that. Nate Schwartz.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
No,
Yeah, it's denied. So one no? Okay.
I said no.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. All right, so that's for that they're gonna come back to. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So now we're on the second one. Variance to display 3 wall signs. Does anybody want to make any motion?
That's the one I'm confused about. Total area of these signs to 150.
Can you refresh my memory? Which signs are going from 50 to 32?
That's the
Those are
canopy.
the canopy.
Canopies,
the-
okay.
yeah.
That's why I'm confused on the number 2. Would we have to reduce any of those?
What I would simply do is just, if it's the will of the board to approve this, approve 2 through 6 altogether, give him that 330 cap, and
Okay.
then let him discuss with his client how best to achieve their vision.
Okay.
It seems like the easiest will be to reduce the.
And
the
include,
awning.
and include the dimmer
Yes.
in there, okay. Yep.
Or you can just deny them all based on staff's recommendation. That's the other option.
Is there any motions on the floor? It's not an easy one.
No. And can you go back to variance 2? Yeah, the photo, yep, thank you. Yeah, I think if we can do that, the 330 is gonna be the main number for the grand total. It's gonna include those.
Okay.
Number 2, I don't know if we have to do anything on the frontage part.
I don't know if you guys would want to look at it, but I have the entire frontage of the building. That one there crops the rest of the building off to show you the size of the building and how little the signage actually is. Can I bring that for you?
Sure. Was that in this one? I think we have that. Yeah, we have that one.
You have it, okay. I just didn't see it on there.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, thank you.
And that's what you're proposing, or what it would be, you'd be limited to if it was denied?
I'm sorry, say that again.
That would be what you're proposing to do, or what you'd be limited to do if it was denied?
That's what we're proposing to do currently.
Okay.
That's what you have in the packet and what's shown there. It just, that shows the entire frontage of the building.
Okay. Okay. Two.
There's another Huck store going in Hamburg, and you'll see that package is much greater than this one. Is what, what we're trying to put there. So this one's really, really scaled back.
Okay. Okay, I'll make the motion, that we approve variances 2 through 6 with the amendments that dimmers be put
Dimmer switches.
into illuminated signs. And the total square footage from variance 5? Is that correct? The total square footage be 330 square feet. And making that motion on the basis that it would cause a unnecessary hardship to the applicant.
We as staff would also suggest is striking condition of approval number 5, because the dimmers would kind of take care of that.
Oh, condition of approval number 5, okay. I got it right here. Strike it all together or just the north?
That's at the board's discretion.
Okay.
I believe the dimmers
Okay.
would take care of that intention.
Okay. And, Mr. Willis, per staff recommendation to strike number 5 from conditions of approval.
All right.
That's with the assumption that you're putting into the motion that dimmers are put on everything except the gas, right?
Yes, that's, I said, part of the do you want to go ahead and read that? Did you write it?
I did. So I have, Mr. Schwartz moves to approve variance 2 through 6 with the amendments that dimmers be added to all illuminated signage, that total square footage be limited to 330 square feet, to strike condition number 5 from the conditions of approval. And that's what I have. And I want, just for the record of everyone here, I want to, Mr. Holden indicated the sign limit of 4 to 6. I don't know if you want to address that at all, but he mentioned that in his proposed language.
No greater than 6.
No greater than 6.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Yep.
Yes, so to also in that motion for recommendation number 6 or variance number 6, that the total signage be no greater than 6. Correct, thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 1.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm
Thank you for your
sorry
time.
I've taken so much
Appreciate it.
time.
No, it's okay, thank you.
Next application, please. There's one.
Yeah, all right.
All right, next application of the night, G 2026-26, conditional use permit for a home occupation at 131 Wellesley Avenue. The zone is R1C PUD. Surrounding zones are R1C PUD. The lot acreage is .26 acres. Direct access is from Wellesley Avenue, and staff does recommend denial. You can see here the zoning map. You can see the R1C. You can see here above aerial picture from PVA. So a little bit of background. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a home occupation to be located upon the property. The proposal itself is a small roadside stand which would sell food products and handmade crafts, with the applicant serving as the only staff. So generally speaking, a conditional use must not negatively alter the character of the zone in which it is located, and it should not negatively alter the character of surrounding zones. Conditional uses should pose demonstrable benefit to the immediate area or the community at large. Staff does find that this proposed use would promote the public welfare because uses of this nature are called for in the comprehensive plan document in section 2.2 of economic growth. The ordinance outlines a specific set of standards for home occupations, and those standards are in place to make sure that these uses do not negatively alter the residential zones in which they are located. So again, the application is for a home occupation. The zoning ordinance defines home occupations as a professional office, one professional with no staff, studio, or personal services maintained or conducted within a dwelling or accessory building. There are 3 specific standards that home occupations need to meet. They must be incidental to the residential use. and they cannot take up more than 300 square feet total. They shall result in no exterior evidence except for a small wall sign. And then they cannot generate any atmospheric pollution, light flashes, glare, odor, noise, vibration, or heavy traffic. So in our review, the proposal would meet requirement A and C. It would be accessory to the residential use of the structure, and it would not pose any of those environmental issues. However, the proposal would not meet requirement B, which clearly states there cannot be exterior evidence of a home occupation. Because this application specifically requests a roadside stand, it would be right next to the road, and unfortunately, it just would not meet that requirement because it would be, it would have that exterior visibility. And so as a result, the application would not meet the ordinance standards for home occupations. So findings, project site is a .26 acre property zoned R1C PUD. This proposal is a conditional use permit for a roadside stand, which is a home occupation in the residential zone. The proposal would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. This proposed use is called for by the comprehensive plan, and it can be expected that it would provide a benefit to public welfare. The use as proposed, being a roadside stand, would be clearly visible from the road, and it would not meet the requirements for home occupations. And then as the last finding, if the use were to be located inside of the home, the proposal would meet all requirements, and with that added condition, staff does believe that a recommendation of approval would be justifiable. However, we have to review, the application as it's been submitted, and so staff does recommend denial of the requested conditional use permit for a home occupation at 131 Wellesley Avenue. And that's just done on the basis that it would have that exterior visibility. Staff recommends the following conditions of approval. 1 through 3 are standard conditions. 4, there shall be no exterior evidence of the home occupation. 5, the use shall not exceed 300 square feet in dimension. 6, the use shall remain incidental and accessory. 7, this is kind of contingent. If the use were to be located upon the roadside, it would need to be a minimum of 10 feet removed from the right-of-way of Wellesley Avenue. 8, the patrons of the use must park in the driveway of the property, and there shall be no on-street parking for the use. And then lastly, hours of operation shall be limited to 9 a.m. through 7 p.m., Sunday through Saturday. So that is all staff has on this one. Does the board have any questions?
No questions. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf?
I am.
Okay, thanks, no.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Sams. So I completely agree with all the recommendations that we have come to see up here. I was going to suggest that maybe this stand is not stationary at all. I can put this wooden structure on wheels so that it is not staying outside on the residency. And I can also locate it inside of the garage if this would then meet the requirements needed for approval. So I just wanted to ask if that would be possible first. If that's the one issue or hiccup that we have here.
So if it were on wheels, and it were to be wheeled out of the garage onto the roadside, that would still unfortunately be clear exterior evidence of the use.
Okay. Whether it's in the driveway or close to the road.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what about staying inside of the garage? That doesn't make a difference either way.
If it were to be located inside of the garage, if the garage door were to be closed, then yes, it would meet that requirement B.
Okay, so there's no flexibility there, really. All right. Okay, well, I guess I don't have any other recommendations for that plan, if that's gonna keep it from being approved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have access to your garage from, other than your car? Do you have a man entrance into your garage?
Yeah, from inside the house.
But not from the outside?
You're talking about one
Correct.
of those side doors?
Yeah.
Side door.
No side door, just from inside the house. There's an entryway into the garage. Yes.
Because they're allowed an exterior, a small exterior sign, correct?
So I also have a fenced-in backyard. Is there any way to put a stand back there that people are allowed to come and access?
No, it has to be inside the building, right?
I think it would still be exterior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there something else that could be applied for that would make more sense for this type of business?
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our zoning ordinance in general is very protective of our residential zones. Commercial incursions into our residential zones is typically something we try to avoid at almost any cost. With that said, what is being proposed here is not something necessarily unique. It's something that our code just does not address. As Mr. Smith said, we're not worried about it being a negative impact to the health, life, or safety of the area. We believe the small-scale entrepreneurial activities is a benefit to our community. However, we just do not, from staff's perspective, have a mechanism to approve this use or other similar uses unless they're fully inside of the residence with that one small wall sign. And again, it's intentionally tight because we're trying to protect our residential zones. Unfortunately, in circumstances like this, there's very little flexibility that staff has.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time and for listening, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion we need to have, or do you all want to make a motion?
I can make a motion to approve the staff's denial of the application.
Second.
State your name.
Ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You got that? You good?
Got it?
Good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Sign there, enter here, yeah.
Good evening, Board. The next three applications are a series of three residential variances in similar locations. The first one we have here is 421 Main Avenue, application G 2026-27. This is a variance to reduce the front yard setback in an R2 zone from 30 feet to 10 feet. Again, located on Main Avenue in an R2 zone on an undersized lot of record at just under 4,200 square feet. Overall, staff's recommendation is denial. Here's our proximity, R2 zone.
Ooh, that is a small.
An overhead view of the property here. Again, yes, it is an undersized lot of record. The applicant is requesting a variance in the form of reduction from minimum R2 front yard setbacks from 30 feet to 10 feet for the property addressed 421 Main Ave for the construction of a new residence. It is an undersized lot of record. There are no previous applications for this project site. Mr. Smith has graciously gone over the provisions of KRS 100-2434 for us here. And here's a site plan as submitted by the applicant. These red arrows here essentially illustrate, on the south side, there would be the proposed 10-foot front yard setback from Main Avenue. Again, this is an undersized lot of record. Staff does recognize that it does face challenges. However, it does not seem that this may be the minimum of amount of relief necessary to provide reasonable use of the property. And the way staff has rationalized this here is that the home here is positioned not all the way to the rear build line of the lot. There is still some area between the rear of the home proposed and the rear build line. So when staff sees that, they have to understand that there is some wiggle room that they could potentially move the house back another few feet. Staff finds, however, that this variance would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, and that would not alter the character of the general vicinity. Homes in this area typically do enjoy a reduced setback. However, the provisions of the ordinance are for the expectations of new development. So any new development, while it might not inhibit the character to be similar, the expectation is that it would adhere to the new development standards. The parcel is greatly undersized, however. The zone standard minimum lot size is 7,500 square feet, while this lot is only 4,100 square feet approximately. As such, staff posits that while some relief from the strict provisions may be warranted, the degree of relief requested may not be the minimum amount needed for reasonable use. The applicant has indicated that this variance proposal is intended to grant the reasonable use of the site in the form of a larger backyard. However, staff finds that the strict application of provisions of the setback regulation would not deprive from reasonable use of the site. Again, staff finds that the project site is 4,175 square feet approximately, zoned R2. Proposal is for a variance from the front yard setback in the form of a reduction from 30 feet to 10 from Main Avenue. The proposal would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. It does arise from special circumstances as it is an undersized lot of record. However, the requested relief may not be the minimum required for reasonable use of the property.
And there's no variances to the side or the back, right? This is just the front?
This one is just the front yard setback. Again, overall, staff does recommend denial as the provisions of the ordinance do call for the granting of reasonable use at a minimum relief. However, if the board does choose to approve, we do have our 4 standard conditions of approval below. Any questions for staff? I know the applicant is here.
We're good. Could the applicant come and speak? Thank you.
I did swear in. Ross Bowen with BGAR Properties. Thank you, sir. So the reason that I asked for a 10-foot setback is just simply, yeah, if you want to go there, is simply that building line would match the neighbors to the, I guess, the west and the east, and then also approximately match another home. Yeah, see, there's 3 homes on that side of the street that are essentially right at, the one to the left here, so the west, is actually probably more like 8 feet. So I'd actually be sitting a couple feet back from there. But, you know, I'm open to, if it helps with the literal interpretation of the guidelines, if it helps to move that back 3 feet, so that I am asking for the minimum relief. I understand that to be an importance here in this, I guess, this meeting. Essentially, you know, I don't mind where the house sits frontage-wise. I simply did it just so the aesthetic of the street would match with other homes there. Essentially why we've asked for that. Now, with the undersizing of the lot, the depth of the lot, we do have to either ask for only a front yard, to be able to use the property for a single-family home. And this is about as small of a single-family home as, you know, somebody can really live in. I would have to either ask for a variance to the front yard setback, a variance to the rear yard setback, or a combination of both, if that makes sense. So I'm open to whatever the board sees as best, you know, as long as we could still build a house for somebody to live in upon the property.
For like, so if it was to be built with the original 30, we're talking about the front of the house being like in the middle of the house next to it, right?
Yeah, it would look pretty funny, yeah. So can we go back to the site plan real quick? I can't do that math from record.
It's just a.
So essentially this.
Yeah.
So essentially this, we don't have an overall there, but I think that the lot is about 80 feet deep or something. So essentially, no, actually 28 and 10. So essentially if I built it at the 30 foot, I'd be almost on the back property line.
Right, and the front.
I would have about 8 feet to the back. Yeah, I would have 8 feet to the back property line.
And the rear's 25, right?
Right.
Right, and I just want to clarify something for Mr. Bowen and the board. We can't, since we advertised for a front yard setback, we can kind of play with that one, but we did not advertise for anything to the rear yard or sides. So the only thing we can consider is either to approve, deny, or amend essentially this application as
Right,
presented.
but if we were to amend and compromise a little bit to get in between that number, we wouldn't know what we're looking at from the rear.
Yeah, we would.
Would we?
If we went the most that we could compromise here in this meeting today is what he's saying, is to go to a 13-foot setback. Because then that still allows me to adhere to the 25-foot rear building line. If that is something that the board can't see fit, then I essentially have to do another application and ask for a rear yard,
Right.
front yard, or combination of, and that has to be re-advertised. So, I simply did it, now I kinda wish I'd have advertised for both. I didn't, I'm not an expert on this, but, I wish I would have had the staff advertise for both so that we could discuss all options, but really what I did is like I said, I only advertised for the 10-foot setback because that's what matches the houses next to it. That's what provides the most aesthetic to the street. It's not an issue for me as far as parking because I've got 18 feet there on one side, and that's where my double driveway for off-street parking will be, so.
You said that, staff didn't think that number was.
So essentially, the only
Advisable.
reason they didn't recommend it is because I could go 3 feet further back. If I had gone 3 feet further back, he's saying that they would have recommended it.
That's partially true. That's pretty close. That's pretty close. So again, Mr. Bowen here has shown about 3 feet of separation from the rear build line to what would be the restrictive.
I got you.
I can actually go back 3.5 feet.
Right, so he's got some room to where, assume, he could shove the house back 3 more feet and leave you with a 13-foot reveal at the front setback, essentially. That would be the extent that we would be able to essentially negotiate here at this meeting, because otherwise he's going beyond the rear.
But is it safe to say that if I had asked for a 13-foot setback, that the staff would have approved?
Staff's not gonna plan on the fly.
He is sharp. He is sharp tonight. I love it.
Can I ask a question? And the house is 900, I can't read that. Is
So-
that 980 or is that 9?
It's 960, so the actual footprint of the house, it's about a 1,400 square foot house, but that's up and down. So you've got about 700, and then the porch, it's a covered porch that's about 150 or 200 square foot. So the total footprint of the home is 960 square feet.
Is it a single or two-story?
It's a 2-story.
So you've got about 1,800, 2,000 square feet.
Well, no, because the porch is just, the porch is not technically living space, but it does have a covered porch that spans the front of the house.
Okay, I didn't say anything about upstairs.
Yeah, the surveyors, they look at it very simplistic, like he doesn't look at it as a 1 or 2 story. He's just showing you what the actual dirt that's gonna be cut is. So, we try to, most homeowners that are gonna be buying this home, they want that at minimum, they want that 1,400 square foot, they want the 3 bedrooms, the 2 baths, because anything else is just not sustainable living. It's something they're looking to bounce. Like if they get something smaller, they're immediately, as their family grows, they're looking for something bigger. But that size, we found people tell us in closing, like, hey, we feel like this will work for us for a long time. Like that's why we're trying to do that. I mean, yeah, are there plans that I could, find that are tighter, that may make less of an impact on the lot, possibly, but it's just not the modern 3-bed, 2-bath layout that people are looking for when they look for a home to live in.
Can you tell me, go from, can you get your marker up there for me?
Yep.
Can you give me from left to right, towards the front,
Okay.
from there to the right, and then go back to the back of the footprint of the house, not including the patio, okay? What's the depth and what's the width?
It's not dimensioned, it's not a true site survey. It's just this is just a,
But do we know what that number is?
Are you looking for this distance right here?
I'm looking at trying to figure out how to get to 4,175 square feet.
Oh, that's the overall
that's the
entire
whole
lot.
parcel.
I understand.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I guess what I'm saying is, does the lot stop, just past where the word is, it says patio?
So there is gonna be some additional space that is right of way that the city actually technically owns.
Are you talking about the backyard?
Yeah.
These
Well,
lots
yeah,
are
'cause-
around 50 by 80.
Because he still has the setback on the back, so there's gonna be a yard there.
Yeah, there'll be 25 feet of backyard.
You still have the 25 on the back.
But you're saying you can only go back 3 feet,
To-
and
to
then you get to the 25 feet.
Yes.
Correct. If we amended it to 3, he could bring it back, and it would still be enough to where it didn't get into the rear setback.
Yeah, I could still have the standard 25-foot backyard that's standard in just about every subdivision lot in
With a
Georgetown.
13-foot
Front yard.
Front.
And some of that, if you go back to the side plan real quick. Now, so that's to the porch, to the actual front of the house, like what you would consider like the living of the house is probably more like 16. But that does cover most of the width of the,
Right, because
Of
the
the
porch
front.
can't go over the
porch can't
the
go over it
line
either.
right?
Now, it could if it didn't have a roof on it.
Okay.
If it didn't have a roof on it, I could pour it as a patio, I could pour it all the way up to the street. And
Because, I mean,
nobody's-
I agree, I don't want the house to start in the middle of this plot, so I'd like to give some leeway there. And then, but if it comes to getting into the back, then that becomes like an unknown, we don't.
Yeah, it becomes
we don't know
another
how-
application,
Yeah, it
essentially.
becomes, we don't know how to approve or deny that, so.
And you said the 18 is parking?
The 18, so we have 16 from the edge of the house to the property line. So that is where, on that side, we'll have a 2-car driveway.
It's gonna be on one of the sides.
It's just gonna be on that side, the right
Like-
side if you're facing the street, from the street.
Right.
That's why typically, now if I didn't have that width, I probably would have came in here and asked to push the house back and have a reduced rear yard setback so that I could have a driveway in front. But since I don't need that driveway directly in front of the house, I'm able to just still attain the backyard, the normal backyard setback. Which most people that buy this house are gonna want that backyard. Like, the general public buying this house is gonna want that. They're not gonna want the space in the front yard, they're gonna want the space in the backyard, because that's a private space, it's a safe space for children to play. This road here is like it's kind of somewhat of an interstate highway, the traffic is zoom, 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 I mean, it's busy.
That's the reason I actually got the parking.
Yeah, there is off-street parking, it'll be two-car driveway.
I'm sure it won't always be off-street parking.
Well, I can't control where they park
Yeah,
after I
know,
sell them the
I know
house,
you
but,
can't control, but that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
It's not
But
gonna-
I'm supplying them 2 pretty deep spots where they can park a car or truck, and we try to do that with every home we build. Just because this area, the streets are not wide, I mean, I forget what it is. It's 20-foot right away from center line, but so there's probably 10 feet on each side. I mean, I'd say the road's only 20 feet wide here. So I try to make sure I have that parking.
So is there any more questions?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You all pretty comfortable with the 13, going up to the 13
That's what I think.
for the front yard?
That's what I think I would.
No.
think.
So we do have a no. We do have a yes. So that's good. It's good to know where we are. Clearly, that's just the main issue here.
Yeah.
Because either way, we're either voting to go with what they recommended or we're not. So is there any recommendation on the floor?
I would propose that we amend. I don't know if I need to say, approve or deny, but to 13 feet for the front setback due to the KRS 100-243 that states alter the essential character of the general vicinity and special circumstances.
And incorporating the rest of staff's conditions of approval.
Yes.
Plus the 4 conditions.
Yeah, and yes, that, and to incorporate staff's conditions of approval as well. So I don't know if, is that something that is approved, deny, or amend? Or is it?
That's approved,
Okay,
yeah.
so it would be
13-foot setback.
to approve a 13-foot setback amended from the 10 requested, for the reasons I listed in KRS 100-243, to also, add the conditions of approval, those 4 lines that staff recommends, would be my motion.
I second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye, so there's 2 of us.
Okay?
All right. So 3 noes. So it didn't
No.
pass.
No, no,
Did you have your hand up?
no, I said no.
So 3 noes.
3 noes.
Right. Yeah. All right.
So we,
The motion just fails, it doesn't deny the
Yeah.
application.
No,
Correct.
it just fails, yeah.
so do we need another motion? Yeah.
All right.
Is there, can I speak for, am I allowed to speak for a moment now?
Sure.
Is there anything for the no's that we could do to get a yes? Like, is there, like, what would, as board members saying no at this point, what would you like to see? Anybody could give me that, like, what would help this process? What would help us develop this into something that somebody can buy to live in? And what could we mediate here to be a good steward to the neighborhood? Like, what we got here?
I guess mine, I'll speak for me since I asked the question about
Thank you.
the 960 square feet. And then you said afterwards that it's gonna be upstairs, so I don't see the scale for the next level, what's going on there, so that kind of, it just
Sure.
kind of came without the full blueprint of what it's gonna be. It just looked like here it's gonna be a 960 square feet house, so.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, it's just the footprint, just like what is actually, like, how much space it actually takes up on the lot. I mean, yeah, we'd just be doing a standard 2-story building. I mean, just a standard 2-story home. We built one just, on a lot, down near the park that looks exactly the same, finished a couple months ago. So,
You could also, have him re-propose it with staff to take it from the back
Yeah.
side as another option, so.
That's what I'm saying, because we don't really see the real picture of the whole.
This is what you're anticipating building on that lot?
Yes.
And you're assuming a patio?
Yeah, there'll be just a 10 by 10 patio.
Because that's 10 feet, right?
Yes. But see, patios aren't governed by the setbacks, as long as they don't have a roof, they're not considered additional to the structure.
And that's what that small square is back there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the patio's on there.
But if you didn't have the patio, you could back it up.
The patio doesn't count as
The
setback.
patio doesn't count.
But it's square feet. I mean, it's 10 feet.
The patio itself doesn't count for setback standards, because it's not under roof.
They could put it on the property line,
Right.
and it wouldn't.
As long as it didn't have a roof cover portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, I truly feel that this is the minimum, I mean, to be able to use this lot to put a house, this is the minimum. I mean, this house is gonna be similar in size to the houses surrounding it. Yeah, I mean, if we left the patio, I guess we could leave the patio off, but I mean, people don't wanna step out their backyard in the dirt. I mean, they wanna have somewhere to put a chair or two. I mean, all other, just because we give this variance doesn't mean that I can just circumvent other zoning regulations, right, Brett?
Correct.
Like, I can't just go and, I can't, just because you approve this, I can't go and say, all right, well, now I'm gonna build a 6-story apartment building here because you've approved this 960 square foot footprint. I'm not gonna, I can't just take this thing to the moon because of that. Like, I still have to, there's still a book, you know, that thick of regulations that are already thought through and approved by years and years of input that I still have to follow. I still have to get building permits, they still have to approve what I'm building. It's just literally, I'm asking to be able to build the house at approximately the depth that the houses on both sides are. And I mean, I'd be lying to tell you that I don't come here and do this to make money. Like, I mean, I'm a builder. I'm not a big builder. I'm not, you know, I'm not one of these big national names coming in here to tear up farms and, you know, put in cookie cutter homes 11 feet from each other where people can reach out and shake hands through the windows. I've literally taken old lots that nobody's doing anything with, and I'm trying to make, every time I list a house, it is the cheapest new house in Scott County on the market. It's the cheapest option for somebody to live in a brand new house. A brand new house that they won't have to worry about anything for the most part for 10 years. Like, you've got new heating and air equipment, you got new water heater, you got new plumbing, you got new electric up to 2026 code. It's, I mean, this house will be $40,000 or $50,000 cheaper than any house that's new in Scott County, regardless of size, age, or location. That's, I'm just literally in here asking for just the minimum to come in so that I can put a house on this lot, so that it can be built to match the neighbors with a house with a backyard. Just, I don't know, I hope I can do what I need to do to make you, you know, give me my vote, you know, give me the vote I need to be able to do this. I mean, this lot just sits here, it does nobody any good, but if I build it, it's a place for a family to live. It's almost always a family. It's almost always somebody in their mid-20s just buying their first house. We've built about 7 or 8 houses over here. It's been about 5 times out of 7. It's been a first-time home buyer with a couple of kids. So, I mean,
Well, you own the land, so maybe you can answer this. I'm looking at this same, 421 is the lot in question. 427 is a house. 423 is what?
you mean directly to the right?
Yeah.
of the street?
Yes,
That's
sir.
just another vacant lot.
It's also, it's an empty lot?
I don't own that lot.
Okay, thank you. It's smaller than yours.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if I can't get this variance, I guess my plan is just mow it for the next 8 years. Or whatever, I mean, I don't know, like maybe, I'm 40, maybe I got 40 years left, so I'll be mowing it for another 40 years.
Red, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is it safe to say that, like, where we're trying to talk about potentially going from the 10 to the 13 feet, that's the only thing we're voting on, right?
Yes, the only thing
Right.
in consideration is the front yard setback.
Right.
Right, we can't do anything
But
else on that.
some of the holdup is that other equations are coming into play, like how it's gonna impact the back too, right? Is that what's, is that what's making you all feel that way?
Some advice, since
Right.
staff only advertised for the front yard setback, that's all we can discuss.
Yeah, we can't,
Right.
you can't,
Is there potential to postpone the application and renotice for a different scenario?
So this is just general policy. If you guys vote tonight to deny this because you're not comfortable with where it is and the proposition that's been brought before you, the applicant to have something reconsidered would come in, they pay the $75 fee, and they'd renotice for a totally new application. At this point, what we could do is, if you're not comfortable, but you're not ready to deny it yet, you could postpone it and allow staff to re-advertise as both the front yard and rear yard setback. What I think has been demonstrated tonight is that you can't with the square footage of the structure that's being proposed, go any further than 13 feet from the front property line before it begins to encroach into the rear property line. As Mr. Shirley said earlier, though, we're not prepared to plan on the fly and say 13 works or 12 works or something like that, only that they could go to 13 without impacting the rear yard setback. It could be very well that you need 15 feet from the front yard setback to feel comfortable, in which case you would need a 23-foot setback from the rear yard, which would require us to renotice.
Either way, there's no way to get it to the 30 that's in the ordinance, correct?
No, that's essentially impossible.
That's what I'm asking.
The possible is not the standard here, reasonable is the standard.
Okay, I understand.
And what we don't want to do is deprive the property owner of the reasonable use of the land. As you can see, this is a small lot, but there's other small lots to the right and the left. They have similarly sized structures on those parcels. We want to facilitate that use. That's the goal ultimately from staff's perspective, is to allow a reasonable residential use of the property.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate that. So, with the individuals that said no, if you're not comfortable voting right now, again on this, we'll just proceed in a different direction.
Or, I mean,
Why don't
they could make a motion.
let's
I mean, they can make a
You
motion.
can make another
Then,
motion.
why don't we,
Could I speak just real quick?
Well, you can, but what I want to say too is that, I mean, we're put here to make decisions. And we know that you have a livelihood too, but I don't want anybody to feel, like, I want them to stand on what they say.
Yeah.
And I want us to vote on, we have to vote on what we hear and what we see and what we know and what we're supposed to stand by. So, yeah, you can come up and say whatever you'd like, but if they still feel like that they're still not ready, we're gonna have to move in a different direction.
I understand that. I think probably what I would like to understand from the board is, you know, if this setback is not acceptable, like, I guess my question, if we did push it and re-advertise for a cut of the rear setback, is that something that makes the no's more comfortable if, I don't know, I'm just trying to talk out loud. If you don't want to give me that information, I don't think you're legally required to give me anything, and I understand if you don't want to, but I just don't want to, I don't want to reapply to move it further back if that's something that doesn't make you comfortable either. Like, I just don't want to spin the wheel.
oh yeah, that's a waste of your time, absolutely.
Yeah, and yours too, because
Yeah, I
I'm gonna be
understand.
back in here next month, so.
Let me make
I
this,
just-
let's do another vote and see how the three of us went. If one of us moves, then you've got a positive.
Okay.
If it isn't, then we have to decide whether or not we want to postpone.
Okay.
Does that sound?
I just want to say one thing. We discussed this, so at the very beginning, you
you
said
second.
that you didn't really think about it, you know, the back and the front and all that. That's the reason why I'm still kind of fuzzy on, I'm just saying, I'm still kind of fuzzy on how you're gonna handle your setback. And kind of want to look at this from the perspective of when you do a setback for it, so. But we can make another vote on it, that's fine.
Am I allowed to ask if anybody's been swayed in either direction?
I think you can.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been through these before.
Yeah, you'll have to make another motion.
Okay. Can I just say the same motion?
It occurs to me that if someone was inclined to make a motion who's changed their opinion, maybe they could make the motion, because we've already had one vote where you've made the motion.
I love it.
Is there anybody who who didn't move previously, who would like to make a motion regarding the matter before this panel?
Well, in essence, it's the same motion, just put forth by a different person.
Right, but if it's a different person, I think you've got a good idea of what happens. That's kind of what I'm getting at, right?
How do I know, how do I have a good idea if I know what would happen? That's why
Well-
I'm asking.
Well, if you're making a motion to do something different than last time, right? That's kind of.
No, it's the same thing, it's just another vote of the same motion.
Yep.
So you're moving that the vote be recast, is what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Not that any action be taken.
Well, we have to vote, that's an action, right?
When you make a motion, you make a motion to do something, like he made the motion to approve the 13-foot
Yeah, it's the
setback.
same vote, it's the same motion.
If
It's
you're,
just putting it through again since it was denied the first time.
Right, so if a new person makes the motion and those two vote the same, it carries, is what I'm saying.
Right.
That assumes that these three people also all vote the same that they did the first time.
Yeah, I think I'm making it worse. I'm gonna stop talking. Somebody go ahead and make a motion. So I've made it worse.
I will make the same motion that I made previously.
And I will second again.
And call for it.
You gonna call the vote?
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll go with an aye. I'll go with an aye.
You go with aye? Okay.
That's the 13, right?
Motion passes. Yep.
And you still no?
2 noes this time.
Motion carries. Sorry for making it worse. I was trying to.
Thank you.
You can make a motion. You can make a different.
Okay, similarly on Main Avenue, this is also a variance to reduce a front yard setback in the R2 zone from 30 feet to 7.5 feet. 502 Main Avenue this time, still R2, similarly sized lot, 4,200 square feet. This time, however, staff does recommend approval. Let's find out why. So here's our zoning map. And so what is unique about this parcel is that not only is it an undersized lot of record at roughly 4,200 square feet, it is also a double frontage lot.
Wow.
So that creates 2 front yard setbacks on this lot. So similar to the scenario you saw before, this one gets bound in even more. The site plan as proposed by the applicant, I'm gonna have to put both my sets of glasses on. Proposed house here is 825 square feet on the first floor. I'll let the applicant speak to the proposal as far as the rest of the structure. Again, they are proposing 7.5 feet setback from Chambers Avenue while maintaining a proper front yard setback from Main Avenue of 30 feet in this instance. So essentially what would become a secondary side yard setback along Chambers there at 7.5 feet. KRS 100-243 does govern this application as well. Staff finds that, again, that this variance would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, nor would it impede the character of the general vicinity. Again, such as before, many houses in this area enjoy similar setbacks and similar scenarios, whether it be undersized lots of records, corner lots with double frontage, et cetera. However, again, these standards that we are governed by under our zoning ordinance do pertain to new construction, new development. So any new development is expected to adhere to these standards. Allowing this variance would allow for the construction of a 2-story home that is approximately 15 feet wide. While undersized, this lot does have residential use by right. Staff finds that this home proposed is modest in nature and the request for a relief itself is reasonable. The parcel has frontage along both Chambers and Main. The lot, as a result, has 2 front yard setbacks, again, binding it in even tighter than normal, further limiting the buildable area on this lot. As such, staff posits the relief from the strict application of the requirements may be warranted. The applicant has indicated this variance intended is to grant the reasonable use of the site and allow for neighborhood conformity. Given the unique circumstances of the lot, staff finds the strict application of the regulations would deprive the applicant from reasonable use of the land. Again, staff finds that it's a 4,200 square foot property zoned R2. Proposal is for a variance from their minimum front yard setback requirement in the form of a reduction from 30 feet to 7.5 feet from Chambers Ave. The proposal would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. The variance does arise from special circumstances as this is a double frontage lot. The requested relief will allow for reasonable use of the property, again, residential use by right. Staff does recommend approval of the requested variance with our 4 standard conditions of approval.
And yeah, similar question on the proposed building. The sketch, it would be pulled, that one, it would be pulled all the way towards the bottom of that screen if the variance wasn't granted, correct?
Well,
No, it'd go to the right.
You'd essentially be correct. So this, here's the footprint
Right,
of the home
with the variance,
with the variance.
correct.
And this is the 7.5 feet from Chambers,
Yep,
7.5 from the other side, and it complies with the front and rear build lines. So they've fit in 3 sides of the sandbox, just not the 4th.
Would you like to come speak?
Yes.
You already,
He's finished. I wonder if there was one more picture, PBA with the house, the neighboring house.
Yep, that one.
Yeah, so I'm trying to
And
figure out.
were you sworn in?
Oh, no, was sworn in. So Tanja Fisher. So I'm on 346. I would be in the backyard.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. So number one, I'm glad I came because my flyer said it was 503 Main Avenue, and I knew that 503 was not the correct address. So I was curious of making sure maybe it was 502 or 50. So anyway, so my mailer was wrong, so it's 502, and I'm directly behind it. So if you look at that red line, so that's my property right there, 346 Chambers. So I know this is about the setback, and I wouldn't have an issue with the setback because it matches, but my issue, I think, it's not addressed here, and I want to know where it's addressed at, because I don't like two-story homes. There's no two-story homes in that area, so that's gonna mess up the look, and then it's gonna be so close that now you're gonna have people looking into my backyard, so that takes away my privacy. So all the other houses in this area and going down that street, they're one story, so why do we need to start building these two-story homes? And I just don't like that, that atmosphere, or that, it's just my comfort level. It doesn't match the other homes, and I just don't like a two-story, house. But other than that, I was curious how far it is gonna be on this site. So I see that red line, I'd like to see, where the house, where the backyard is. So I guess the front door is gonna be on Main Avenue?
Yes.
And then where's the driveway, the backyard, and all those? I'm looking for those type of details, but I definitely don't like a two-story home.
thank you.
So the front is on Main Avenue?
Yes, to the
So the
north.
house's actual front will front to Main Avenue.
Yeah.
And then,
Which is the north.
which is north.
Yeah.
Yes, and then the back, we've got, can you go back to site plan real quick for me? So the 25-foot building line, we're actually quite a ways from the, what is that? So I'm actually 50 feet from the back of the house to their property line. So I'm well over that, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I understand that, there are some two stories. I do agree that there's mostly one stories. If it's your concern that people will be looking from a two-story house, I could always put no windows on the back of the house or something. There's compromises I can make. I did build a couple of two-story houses on West Street, just around the corner. I think there are some two stories on down Main Avenue, but.
They're not.
What's that? They're not two stories? Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Chambers, maybe,
Yeah, on Main, I think you go, yeah, there's,
But Chambers.
Chambers is mostly one, yeah, I think all one story. And I'm building a house there on Chambers, and that's part of the reason I went one story there, but, really, it's just a very narrow lot. It has the double frontage. I mean, I know we could probably discuss it all day, but this is just literally the minimum that I can do. I mean, I'm already building a 15-foot wide house, like we're talking like less than the width of your, whatever you call this that you all sit in here. Like, it's very narrow, and it's what I have to do to be able to utilize this as a lot for somebody to live on.
So it's
It
basically,
does, historically, it does sit within a smaller footprint width-wise than a home that was torn down here in 2012. So that home actually sat closer to the street and closer to the other property line. If you look at the old Google Eagle Eye views, it sat literally like 2 feet from each property line. So I'm doing less. I'm asking for less.
is the reason you're not putting it more in the center of the lot?
What's that?
Is the reason you're not putting it more in the center
Like
of the
more
lot?
down towards her on the back?
No, this way.
Like this
So-
way?
yeah.
It is, it's perfectly centered because we have a 7.5-foot building line this way to this property line and a 7.5 to this property line here.
I get confused. I keep thinking the drawing's to scale.
Sure. But I don't wanna move the house this way because I would like to have a driveway, a double driveway in the back here, and then still maintain as much as possible here between us and the neighbor, which is.
Can you go back to the, I would maybe the other image, the landscape, where is the driveway, the double driveway?
So it'll be behind the house, so if you basically took your property line and you measured out, I would say,
And then 50 feet.
The point.
there's 50 feet from your property line to the back of the house approximately. And then the driveway will be right at the back of the house, and it'll be a 20-foot wide driveway, so you'll still have 30 feet from the edge of the driveway to your property line. So,
And it's gonna face Chambers.
it'll face Main Avenue.
No,
Main Avenue, I meant, excuse me, I meant Main Avenue, and it's gonna be 2-story.
It'll just be a little 2-story house.
The only thing about it is Chambers already got a situation going there with that four-way stop sign there, and I don't know if people will be able to see around it.
Well, there'll be 30 feet, from the front of the house to Main Avenue. So like as they come up the street, they'll, for 30 feet until they reach the stop sign, they'll be able to see both ways. I don't think, in my opinion, that's not a huge
Okay.
concern.
I mean,
But I appreciate you bringing it up because that's something we think about as well.
yeah, because that is kind of a crazy intersection right there.
Yeah.
And people don't stop, they just pause, they think the
I
sign
understand.
says pause and not stop.
I understand.
And just wanted to make a point that the speaker was correct. The letter that went out did say 503, that it was supposed to be 502. I mean, that's what I have in my packet, so just to make sure on that.
And so there's another lot next to your lot,
Mhm.
right? That's gonna be a vacant lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't own that. That's in a,
okay.
it's in a mistake
yeah,
at this time.
that's, okay, I just wanna make sure, see, how that's determined.
The, just for clarification, the lines here indicate that my lot and the lot beside it are the same kind of width, but that's actually incorrect. That lot beside it is quite a bit wider.
It is?
Mhm.
It looks like it's smaller.
Yeah, the lines aren't correct.
Yeah, the PVA says.
I actually had both lots surveyed, and it's not, this is not accurate.
Oh, it's not this
A little
one.
wider, yeah.
The approximate
Yeah.
property line on their, sheet
Yeah.
there, on their view is correct for mine, but that property line for that other property goes almost all the way over to that house. That house is almost sitting on that property line, so. But like I said, I think, all you can do when you come in and ask for these variances is to, everything's laid out by planning and zoning, by the staff, like, you gotta meet this criteria. So we're trying, when I'm trying to find house plans, I'm trying to say, okay, does this house plan allow me to ask for the minimum amount of relief? Like, it's just, everybody wants to be able to use their property, but we come in here, it's your all's job to, basically be the mediator between the neighbors and me trying to use my property, but also being the minimum nuisance to the neighbors. I appreciate the process, I do. One reason I keep ending up in here, I think, is because this area, or just downtown in general, probably could use its own zoning regulation. But that's just not the case, so that's why we're in here all the time, trying to get relief from the board. And I appreciate what y'all do. Sometimes these meetings aren't easy to sit through, but all I can do is come in here and ask for the minimum and hope that you see it as fit. So, thank you all for your time.
And then I just here for the education part. So like I said, I don't know if this is the place where you put in your building plans for 2 stories. So that really is a big issue with me. So I don't know if that's planning and zoning, or I want to put it on record, tell me where I go, or send this to them, that they need to do surveys and ask people about these 2 stories. I think it's unfair to put 2 stories when there's already all these 1-story houses. So, I mean, it'd be nice if we could say no windows on the back. That would be great, because I just think that's unfair.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, I understand, but it's not something I know we can, but if planning and zoning could help on that, with her concerns, that'd be great, or where she could go. But I know that we just need to either approve or deny based on the information we have here to grant this setback or not.
And the question I ask is a question that I hear, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's so that's what I say, so we kind of be on the hot seat, you know,
I understand.
so.
Thank
That's the reason why I wanna make sure. Will you have a fence?
What's that?
Will you have a fenced in backyard?
I don't install any fences, that's
Okay.
up to the homeowner when they
Okay.
purchase.
I know some of the houses, I don't know if they were yours or not, was built with fence.
Yeah, they put up fences pretty much immediately. But
Okay.
there's also regulations for that too, so if they're doing it permitted, they have to.
As long as it's
follow
open,
those.
it's, okay.
Does anybody feel like making any motion on it?
I'll make a motion that we approve based on staff recommendations as presented.
I'll second it. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm a no.
You're no? Okay. Any other
Yeah.
no's?
Uh,
Okay.
these two, no.
Okay,
I'm a no.
gotcha.
Yes.
Do you have a concern?
I'm sorry.
Did you have a concern or anything?
Was that
Oh.
2 no and 3 no's and 2 yeses?
No, 3 yes.
3 yeses. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it passed.
Motion
It passed.
I was waiting on that to be on motion. I know, Jack. Can you even believe it?
No, I don't think we can.
Oh, I
She's-
thought you had that. I thought we had.
531
No, I don't
Bourbon
think we
Street.
can.
Application G-2026-29. This is a variance again to reduce the front yard setback in the R2 zone from 30 feet to 10 feet on an approximately 10,500 square foot lot zoned R2, Bourbon Street. Staff recommendation overall is denial. Here is our zoning and proximity map. And this here is the lot in question. Oop. And the proposed duplex build. So again, let me get my pointer here. This lot is a double frontage lot, so it does have front yard setbacks both along Payne Street and Bourbon Street. Again, similarly to the previous proposal, the applicant is proposing a reduced front yard setback from Payne Street down to 10 feet for the construction of the proposed duplex. Yet again, it does meet all the other setback requirements on the northwest and southern sides. It would just be the east side that's under consideration here. Well, this is the other one. How about it? KRS 100-243 does govern this application. Again, similarly, staff does find that this would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. The variance would not alter the general character of the vicinity because, again, many homes in the area do enjoy reduced setbacks. However, again, these standards are for new development. Any new development should meet these standards. Staff finds that the proposal would allow an unreasonable circumvention of zoning regulations because it does not meet the other standards of KRS 100.243. While we do recognize that this is a double frontage lot with 2 front yard setbacks which may warrant some relief, the degree of relief requested may not be the minimum needed for reasonable use of the land. Let's see. Staff, however, finds that the more strict application of the provisions of the setback regulation would not deprive the reasonable use of the site. So a duplex is a use by right in the R2 zone. However, there are other by right uses of a smaller potential scale, et cetera, in the R2 zone. So staff does find that while the proposal may be a by right residential use, the relief requested may be an unreasonable circumvention of the regulations. And as such, staff finds the application does not meet the standards outlined in KRS 100.243. While the duplex is permissible use in the zone, a smaller footprint would require less relief from the regulations. As a double frontage lot, the project size does face unique circumstances. However, the requested relief may not be the minimum required for reasonable use of the property. We have our 4 standard conditions of approval. Again, staff, however, does recommend denial of the application overall. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
You're good.
Is the existing structure being torn down?
It would be
Okay.
pending this, you know, pending approval of new building permit, variance and, new building permit. So essentially, the reason that we're asking for relief, this is, again, a double frontage lot. Like he said, in this particular site plan, we are allowed to go 7.5 feet from that west property line. But that area, it's not an easement that's necessarily recorded, but there is a drain that the city's put in that goes down to like a drainage bulkhead. And they've essentially dug a ditch on the property to handle overflow, water drainage from pretty much that whole block, because this is about the lowest point on the whole block. So a lot of the water is coming that way, and they've used that area to do it. So that's part of the reason we've got to be pushed over. Really, I mean, aside from building a 15-foot wide house, again, which would be, I think, crazy on a lot this size. I mean, this lot's 60 by 150. It's a 9,000 square foot lot. It's about double the size of the average lot in this neighborhood. You know, to be able to build it, we've got to have some form of relief. 10 foot is what we ask for, because that is the existing setback. Like the house that's on it has about a 10-foot setback. A lot this size, in a residential neighborhood, it's helpful to me, it's helpful to the community if this becomes 2 housing units instead of 1. If we're talking about, reasonable, yes, there is a use that's less than that. You could just build a house and ask for less of a setback variance, but you're still asking for a setback variance. You still have to have something to be able to build a house here, because of the double frontage. It's essentially an unbuildable lot, reasonably unbuildable lot, if we don't get some sort of relief from Payne Street. So.
Any questions? Anybody else here? Nobody else?
You want to say anything, David?
No.
You know, sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know, I know it. Maybe I'll see. Could you give a picture?
Yeah. This is the duplex plan. We built this plan on Martin Luther King. This is what we would like to build
And the driveways would be going,
in the back.
north and south, essentially?
No, the driveways would be, which, I'm looking at it upside down.
Yeah.
They would be back here on Payne Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both of them will be up back here. So both driveways?
Just so not to
Yeah, yeah.
affect the aesthetic of the front.
The driveways would be like this.
No, they would go like this.
They would go across. Okay, I gotcha.
But yeah, there's the.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm sorry, driveways would be where, because I can't see
Driveways
over
would
there.
be-
They're horizontal.
Both on this side?
Mm-hmm.
Both on this side?
Yes. Yep. Going that way, they would enter from Payne Street and park behind the building.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to be able to build on this lot, we do have to have something. If you feel like 10 is too close, we could probably make a different plan, but it work with a 15-foot setback, but then it would become a 2-story to get, just to even get us even like a duplex with 1,000 square foot aside would be a 2-story at that point. So this is a larger footprint, does require a bigger variance, but one thing I always love when I can do a 1-story, especially in something that's gonna be for rental, because people are looking for that 1-story rental. Like, I mean, every time I'm able to build or buy a 1-story rental, like where all the living is on one level, It's easy to access. I've always got elderly, I've always got people with mobility issues. They're always just like jumping on those properties. They want to be the first person to call me because everything's on that one level. They don't have to deal with any stairs. And this is a lot where it's big enough. It just happens to be at the corner of two streets. It's big enough to accommodate this footprint and the one-story living on both units for the tenants. So it would pain me to just build a, one unit, something that was two-story, like something I had to cram in. But that's something you do on a lot where you just have no choice. Like, spread it out. It'll still have tons of front yard, yard on the sides, driveways in the back. It gives a better feel to be that one story, that one level living for everybody. So, and again, the board doesn't act on the fly. I get it, but I feel like if the only reason this didn't get approved by staff is because it's not the minimum. It's not the minimum that allows this something to be built on this lot. It's not the minimum. I'm not going to hear on the last application. I could sit here and tell you all day it's the minimum. I can't do anything with it if I don't get this minimum setback variance. This is not the minimum, but this is a lot that is double the size of most lots over here. It provides one level living for two different tenants. You hear all the time, Georgetown's in a housing shortage. People can't find rentals. I'm out here trying to change that. I'm trying to do what I can do to provide as much housing as possible and make a living at it along the way. So it's a big lot. I mean, you can see it. It runs almost the entire depth of the commercial lot right next to it that has a factory on it. I mean, they're literally manufacturing right there.
What's there now?
Some kind of manufacturing.
No. Yours.
What's on mine?
Yeah.
Just that house right there that you see.
Is it occupied?
No.
Has it been condemned?
Condemn's not the right word,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Uninhabitable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uninhabitable, okay.
uninhabitable, unsalvageable. The cost to repair it deems it unfit to be restored. The foundation's in bad shape. It would serve the community a lot better to just be a brand new structure with that torn down.
And you're looking at two equal-sized units, so 1,350 square feet for each unit?
Yeah, that's with porches. The actual inside is about 12 something, but it has.
So little two-bedroom places?
What's that?
Little two-bedroom places?
3-bedroom.
In that?
3-bedroom and
1,200 square feet?
Yeah. It's pretty standard.
Tiny bedrooms?
Even with that footprint, we've still got a lot of yard on the lot. I mean, if you look across the street, like, Payne Street, I mean, you look at literally the house across Payne Street from me sits 10 feet from the street. It's just not uncommon over here. It would be better if, like I said, it would be better if this area and other downtown areas just had their own zoning regulations, but they don't. Maybe they will someday, but until then, we have to trudge in here and take up your time to go through all these possibilities. So,
Okay.
if there's any suggestions anybody has to make this less of a burden on the surrounding area, I'm all ears. I try to get along the best I can. I just want to provide as much housing as possible. One, to make money, and two, because people need housing. And I'd love to see 2 units go on this large lot for years to come. Good, clean housing, one level housing for people.
Thank you. Is anybody ready to make a motion on it, or do we need to discuss it more? You have something else?
Staff's recommendation is denial. With the applicant saying that he could do it with less, I would be very careful about approving based on what the original application was. There's certainly consideration for single-story versus two-story, But again, staff emphasizes the need to find the least amount of relief possible. And I don't think that's really been presented as anything concrete, just ideas of what could or could not happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fair.
So, I'll just speak one more time. I think it's, you know, in my opinion, I've been to quite a few of these meetings now, it's the staff's job to tell the board what is legally recommended for the zoning regulations.
It's not our application.
What's that?
It's not our application.
Not?
No, it's your job to prove your application.
Right. But it's staff's job, and they do a great job at it, to go through these lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it meet this? Does it meet this? Does it meet this? Does it meet? I mean, they do it better than anybody in the public could possibly do it. But I'm in here asking for the board to make a common sense, just a human decision to say, we've heard all that staff has to say, and here is what could be on this property to provide housing to two different families versus one. And even if I do it with one, I've still gotta come back and say, if they vote no and I say, okay, can I reduce the setback? I've still gotta ask for a setback. It's still gotta be there. I've still gotta have some kind of setback to build on the property. That's it. And I'm not taking anything away from staff. That's their job. My job is to ask you to make a human decision. So,
And we will. Thank you.
thank you all so much for your time tonight.
Yep.
So I have a question
Yep.
for staff.
Yes, ma'am.
This property has one house on it now. Is it still viable for one house if you wanted to rebuild and put one house on the property?
Yes, ma'am, a single-family structure is by right. Yes, ma'am.
But what about a variance? Would a possible variance still be needed?
Staff's not going to speculate on the footprint of the house.
Gotcha.
I mean, geometry, I mean,
Okay.
I will put up the exhibit that they gave us before. Again, they meet on, I think, 3 out of 4 sides. Staff can't speculate on what another footprint may look like.
But that footprint, the one that exists right now,
It's not.
doesn't like.
It's non-conforming.
It is non-conforming?
The
It is,
existing
okay.
house is 10 feet from paint.
It's kind of hard, it's pretty.
Okay.
But it's already existing
Right.
as a
It's-
non-conforming.
Correct, because it's so old, right? We get those all the time.
About
Yeah.
there, about 10 feet now.
But when you tear it down, you can move it, you know what I'm saying?
But again, we're discussing new development, not current existing.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is if they did tear it down, it would be considered new development. Correct?
Yes, well, yes.
You're absolutely correct. So the assumption is with non-conforming properties, over time, through attrition typically, that they do come into compliance with the zoning ordinance.
Right.
That is the assumption. We want them to come into compliance. At no circumstance would staff typically recommend encroaching further into a setback. We've reviewed many cases with this board where we have a 10-foot setback and somebody wants to do an addition and follow that 10-foot setback line, and we'll do things like that. I have not gone out there, haven't measured it, but if that house is 10 feet from the property line, if somebody were to come in and say, hey, I want to rebuild a single-family home at 7.5 feet, staff would generally not be in favor of that because you're increasing the nonconformity, even if it is new development. That's counterfactual, though. Right now, what we have is an application for a duplex with a 7.5-foot setback as it's closest to that eastern property line. So
10.
10, even better.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that we're reviewing tonight. Yeah, 10 is much better than 7.5 in this circumstance.
Yeah.
And if it appeases, if there's too many no's on the board for 10, I would be happy to propose 15. That brings it back from the street even more, and it still allows us a reasonable use of the property.
Is anybody working towards a motion yet? If not, I am. I'm gonna go based on what facts that we have tonight. And the approach I'm gonna take is to deny it based on the staff report. Because I think there's another approach that needs to happen, but it doesn't need to happen right here. Because the calculations are not there. We can't just fix everybody to where we can get them to a good point to where they feel comfortable, because these are conditions that we have to feel comfortable about.
Sure.
And I think that, you know, having them back to back, I mean, we're talking about a different application now, but we've had this on 2, 3 applications now. So like, I feel like I'm being very fair. I'm not gonna speak for everybody else. But I'm just saying, based on what we're talking about right now, the facts on this, I've not seen enough to change it for me from a denial to an approve. So I just think another approach needs to happen. So I'm gonna make a motion on the floor to deny per staff report.
Go ahead, Clem. Clem.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. So it passes.
Was there any opposed? Okay.
No. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. That's well said.
Yep.
Thank you all for your time tonight.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
All right, next application on the night, G 2026-30, 514 Maple Street, variance application. The proposal is a variance to reduce the front yard setback toward right alley from 24 feet to 21 feet. The location is 514 Maple. The zone is R2. Surrounding zones are also R2. The lot acreage is 0.2 acres. Direct access is from Maple Street, and staff does recommend denial. You can see here the zoning map. You've got the R2 zone property. You've got the R2 around it. You can see here PVA overhead picture of the property. In the yellow there with the arrow is the front yard setback in question. Similar to some of the other applications tonight, this is a property with double frontage, and so we are dealing with that secondary frontage towards right alley where you have that second front yard setback. So a little bit of background on this one. The applicant is applying for a variance to reduce that front yard setback toward right alley from 24 feet to 21 feet. This proposal is intended to allow for an addition to an existing single-family home, as you saw in those pictures. The project site is that corner lot with the double frontage. There are previous applications to the Georgetown Board of Adjustment. Last month, we saw the application for the reduction in both the side and the front yard setbacks, G 2026-25. At that time, the board reduced the front yard setback toward right alley from 30 feet down to 24 feet, and then denied the side yard setback. That front yard setback towards right alley, which was reduced down to that 24 feet last month, that is the same front yard to which this current case pertains. The applicant filed this application to reduce it that extra 3 feet, indicating that the previously granted reduction did not provide sufficient relief to allow for the addition as intended. The letter is included in the packet there, just behind the staff report. So here's the staff exhibit, just for a little bit of extra visual reference here. These are the conditions that were approved in G 2026-25. You can see how that 24-foot setback would grant essentially the same building line where the proposal is in line with that rear section of the house. And then seen here, these are the conditions which are proposed for this application. You would have basically the residential addition coming out towards right alley an additional 3 feet. So KRS 100-243, we've gone over this one a lot tonight. We'll hit the high points. Effect on public health, safety, and welfare. We as staff find that there would be none. Effect on character, because this proposal would create further encroachment towards right alley, we would bring that building line an additional 3 feet to the street, and those walls would be 3 feet closer. Staff does find that this would alter the character of right alley. In terms of unreasonable circumvention, does the variance grant unreasonable circumvention of zoning regulations? This proposal would increase the degree of nonconformity / variation for that setback line toward Right Alley. Staff does believe that this variance as proposed would allow an unreasonable circumvention because this would be an additional reduction from a previous variance. The existing front yard setback of 24 feet already represents the minimum relief necessary given the circumstances of this double frontage lot. If the residential addition would be reasonably possible without a further variance for reduction, then we as staff believe that the variance would create unreasonable circumvention. So in terms of special circumstances from which the variance may arise, the project site, as we saw, it does have that double frontage upon both Right Alley and Maple Street. And that is an uncommon circumstance for most residential lots. Whenever a corner lot has double frontage, it basically has double front yard setbacks and less buildable area as a result. The older age of the home is also a unique circumstance which would not generally apply to lots in the R2 zone. This is an old home built before zoning regulations. And so kind of the real hinge that this application, that our recommendation comes down to is the question of if denial of this variance would deprive reasonable use of the property or create unnecessary hardship. While we as staff do admit there are unique circumstances to the lot, in this case they would not necessitate the variance. The denial of this variance would not create hardship. And the important key to this is that the reasonable use of this property, including this residential expansion that is in question here, was already essentially granted. That would already be very reasonably possible when that front yard setback was reduced last month from 30 feet down to 24 feet. Staff posits that that previous approval represented the minimum relief necessary that would grant the residential renovation. That was also in keeping with the existing building lines of the home. This would bring it an additional 3 feet towards the street. So again, we as staff believe that if this renovation would be possible, or reasonably achievable, without further reduction of that setback, then denial of the variance would not create hardship. So again, these are the same two images we saw earlier of the existing condition for the property versus what is proposed with this variance. On the left is basically what this residential addition would look like if no further relief were granted. We as staff believe that that would give enough space for this to be done. Seen on the right, you can see the walls of the home coming an additional 3 feet towards Right Alley. And we as staff, again, we believe that what you see on the right there would be more than what is needed to grant this renovation.
And the photo on the left could be built as of today?
Yes, sir.
Without any
further
Or
variance.
further action, okay.
So in light of that analysis, we as staff do believe that the application would not meet the standards of KRS 100-243. Granting of variances needs to operate in relation to the minimum amount of relief necessary. And so staff does believe that further reduction should not be granted in this case. Findings, project site is 0.2 acres and it is zone R2. Front yard setback has been previously reduced from 30 to 24 feet. This variance is to reduce that front yard setback further from 24 to 21 feet. The variance would allow for renovation of the existing home. The variance would not be to the detriment of public health, safety, and welfare. Those findings are essentially all in relation to KRS 100.243, and the real important element there is finding number 8. The proposed expansion would be reasonably achievable without further reduction, and that previous variance that we saw last month already granted that minimum relief necessary. So in light of all that information, staff does recommend denial of this variance to reduce the front yard setback from 24 feet to 21 feet, and that's just on the basis it would not meet KRS 100-243. We have our standard conditions of approval with one added condition of approval. We had discussed this last time, but per the recommendation of the fire marshal and code enforcement, if that expansion to the home encroaches to less than 15 feet of that shed in the rear yard, that shed would need to be moved or removed. Does the board have any questions for staff at this time? Okay. I believe the applicant may want to speak to this one.
Did you get sworn in already? Okay. Go ahead. Tell them your
Raise your right
name.
hand, please. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir. My name is Alvaro Aguirre. I'm the applicant for 514 Maple Street. Last time that I came and presented this to you all, it was my first time doing so, and I made a very critical mistake at the beginning by not clarifying the setback that I needed. They got the assumption off of the survey that I got, and that's where the 24-foot came in. But my idea was to run off the front section of the wall of the house and just run that wall all the way straight back, just to make it a little bit easier for construction and just get rid of that 90-degree on midway in the house. I do agree with the planning zone in that I have more than enough reasonable space now to do it. It's just more of a nice clean look that you would walk into the house and just see straight through all the way, and just try to get rid of those corners and to allow me to use my properties to create as much space as possible. The plans will be further down the road to try to turn this into a multi-home, since I'm in the right zone and district for that. Like I said, this is my first time going step by step. Last month was a step back, held me back. Hopefully, y'all take a little bit of leniency on me for making that mistake. I'm only gonna get better as it goes down the road. Hopefully, if I get to see y'all have a better presentation and a lot more planning. I do have, I don't know if y'all got them, but the picture of how the layout is now of what I want it to be. And I also took some pictures of Wright Alley. There's some homes that are probably 10 to 12 feet away from that perimeter line that we're talking about on Wright Alleyway. So I don't think that it will cause any hazard or anything negative in the neighborhood. It just honestly makes it look a little bit better once the project will be done. That's it. Can I borrow that orange pen? Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions or any motions?
I make a motion that we deny the application per staff recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second. Nate Schwartz.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion now passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, next application on the night, G 2026-32. We have a sign plan at 115 Amerson Way. I apologize for the typo on the slide there. So you can see here, a copy of the zoning map. The property is located there. You, along McClellan Circle, you have the B4 zoning, in that immediate area, and then you have R1C and R3 as you go outwards. You can see here an aerial view of the property. The application was the building has recently been completed in terms of construction, and you can see that reflected on that image there. So a little bit of background. Fast Signs of Louisville has submitted the client sign package for the Baptist Health that is to be located on the property. The final development plan was approved in July of 2025. The site has triple street frontage on McClellan Circle, Amberson Way, and Pleasant View Drive. There are no previous Board of Adjustment applications for the project site, and the sign package and narrative submitted includes a total of 5 sign variances. So, in terms of those 5 sign variances, when it comes to a hospital, there are certain types of signs that are exempted from the regulations of the sign ordinance. These 5 sign variances apply exclusively to the signs which would constitute advertising. These signs are as follows. You have the request to increase the freestanding sign height from 8 feet to 12 feet. You have a variance request to display 2 wall signs toward McClellan Circle. You have a variance request to display a wall sign toward a property boundary which does not have street frontage. And then 4 and 5, much like the last sign plan we saw, are 2 holistic sign variances which apply to the maximum sign allowances for the entirety of the site. We as staff will review and kind of recommend separately on each variance outlined in that list. So KRS 100.243, I've touched on this one a lot tonight. That first variance, the freestanding sign height, again, the sign would be displayed towards Pleasant View Drive. The variance would be for the increase from 8 feet to 12 feet with freestanding signs in the B4 zoning district. The maximum freestanding sign height is 8 feet. So we've got that additional 50% added. The stated intent of this variance would be to allow for drivers to identify emergency medical services offered on site in a more timely or immediate manner. So in terms of KRS language, the effect on public health, safety, and welfare, we as staff find there would be no negative effects. The sign may benefit these elements because it does advertise a hospital. In terms of the effect on character, it's a fairly minimal increase. The increased height would not alter the character of the immediate vicinity. In terms of, if there is unreasonable circumvention, again, the 4-foot increase is not a high degree of, increase over the typical maximum. In terms of the special circumstances from which this variance arises, in this case, that is the fact that this land use is a hospital. And a hospital may require increased signage so as to be clearly identified. And then as it relates to the question of if denial would create unnecessary hardship or deprive reasonable use, because this is an emergency medical service, it can reasonably be inferred it would have that more immediate need for clear identification than a typical B4 commercial use would. So it is staff's opinion that denial of this variance would create hardship. So the second variance, to display those 2 wall signs toward a single street, signs E6 and E2 would both be displayed towards McClellan Circle. You can see those on the site plan included in the packet. The sign ordinance does mandate that developments should display no more than 1 single wall sign towards 1 single street. With those 2 wall signs facing toward McClellan Circle, the variance is needed for that second sign towards the same frontage. So again, in relation to KRS 100.243, there would be no negative effect on public health, safety, and welfare. Same as earlier, the variance may create a benefit in the form of increased visibility for drivers on McClelland. In terms of the effect on the character of the surrounding area, it can reasonably be expected that a hospital would require increased visibility from the street, and the character of McClelland Circle is comprised of a lot of commercial and industrial uses, so this would not be something that is unheard of in the immediate area. In terms of unreasonable circumvention, this would not be created by this variance. In terms of the special circumstance, once again, it is just the fact that this uses a hospital itself, and it may require that increased visibility for drivers. In terms of the question of if denial creates unnecessary hardship, once again, that increased visibility or lack thereof, if this were to be denied, may create hardship as it pertains to the land use of the hospital. So that third variance, you can see on the right there, where you see the little box that says sign. That is where this sign would be displayed towards. The sign ordinance does mandate that wall signs should only display toward a street upon which the building directly fronts. So in this case, you can see how you have that perfectly vertical street frontage for those other three sides of the property, but then towards that south side, you do not have a direct street frontage. And so in this case, the variance would be required for that sign to be displayed toward that property boundary where there is no street frontage. So once again, KRS analysis, there would be no adverse effect on public health, safety, and welfare, but as an added note, this sign may not benefit public health in the same way that the other signs may, because this sign would not directly face a public street. And so it would not be serving that same immediate purpose of clear identification. In terms of the effect on character, a wall sign facing south where there is not direct street frontage may impact the character because wall signs, generally speaking, affect character because they are displayed at a high elevation. They're clearly visible. The expectation for the visual character of a building is that, what are you looking for? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. The expectation for the visual character of a building is typically that its wall signs would directly face a street. That's the intent of that regulation. And so because this sign would not face a street, it would not be in keeping with that expectation of character, and it therefore may have an adverse effect on character. In terms of the potential creation of unreasonable circumvention, we as staff do believe that this variance would allow an unreasonable circumvention of zoning regulations because the ordinance does mandate that all wall signs must face a street upon which the building directly fronts, and this variance would contradict that provision of the ordinance. In terms of special circumstances, as we've touched on, the land use is a hospital. That is a special circumstance to some extent. But while that is a special circumstance, it may not necessitate this specific variance because you may not need such an increased degree of visibility towards a property boundary where you do not have direct street frontage. You can see here just a visual reference of that side of the building facing south. You have the exempt signs, which would not need variances, which would already create that clear visibility towards that south boundary, the emergency and urgent care sign and the open 24/7 sign. Those would very clearly demarcate the use of the hospital, and it could be identified without that Baptist Health logo at the top. So, and that's kind of the first finding in relation to this variance. And then secondly, while a hospital may need the other sign variances to ensure that clear visibility from the road, it may not need that same increased level of visibility from a boundary through which or from which it is not accessed.
So the Baptist Health is what the applicant wants, but the emergency and the open 24/7 are exempt?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So as noted in the staff report, the sign ordinance exempts signs which are necessary to promote the public health, safety, and welfare
Gotcha.
from its own provisions.
Okay, got
And
it.
so they would not need those dimensional variances in the
Got it.
same way. And those last two variances, variances 4 and 5, these similarly would holistically apply to the entire site rather than one specific sign. Variance number 4 would increase the maximum on-site wall signage square footage from 250 square feet to 309 square feet. And variance number 5 would increase the maximum number of wall signs on site from 2 to 5. So these variances, the holistic variances for the entire site, they directly arise from the individual wall signs that we've gone over just now. The points of analysis for these two variances in relation to KRS 100.243 would remain the same as a result. Staff's findings are as follows as it relates to these two. As it regards the increase in square footage, denial of variance 3 as recommended would reduce the on-site wall signage down to 244 square feet. And so if variance 3 were to be denied, this holistic variance would not be needed anymore because it would be under that 250 square foot threshold. So staff does find that because variance 4 directly results from variance 3, that variance 4 does not meet state statute either. And then regarding the last final variance, the increase in the number of wall signs for the site as a whole, denial of variance 3 would reduce this increase from 5 to 4. And so our recommendation is to amend this variance to 4 wall signs rather than 5. So findings, we've gone over many of these already. The project site is a 2.3 acre property zone B4. Signs which constitute advertising by displaying logos, trademarks, or brand names, those signs are not exempt from the need for variances, and the variances which are accounted for in this application exclusively pertain to those non-exempt signs. All of the findings which we've kind of gone over for the first 3 variances, and then with those last 2 variances which apply holistically to the entire site, though the essential gist is the points of analysis in relation to state statute remains the same because they directly arise from those individual variances, and those 2 holistic variances would change depending on the motion and vote on the first 3 variances. So as a result of the findings and analysis, staff would recommend approval of variance number 1, approval of variance number 2, denial of variance number 3 to display that wall sign toward a property boundary where there is no frontage. We would recommend denial of variance 4 because without variance 3, that is no longer needed. And then we would also recommend denial of variance 5 as proposed and amending that variance to a total of 4 wall signs as opposed to 5. So staff, if any of these variances were to be approved, staff recommends a fairly general set of conditions of approval. We have the first 3, which are very standard 4 sign packages. We have number 4, which essentially is that all other signage on site, whether it relates directly to these variances or not, must meet the applicable requirements of the sign ordinance. 5, the exempt signs shown upon the plan, while they are exempt from zoning-based restrictions, They shall remain subject to any and all applicable building or electrical code requirements if those are required. And then lastly, any and all freestanding signs upon the property will need to be 50 feet removed from property lines and the site triangle of entrance intersections. As a last note here, on your desks is a rebuttal to the staff recommendation. And so I wanted to point that out to you all. The applicant will, I'm sure will come speak in a moment, but for the time being, does the board have any questions for staff?
What's the sum total of wall signs? It's 3?
So in this case, it is 2.
It's 2, okay.
Because the ordinance, in the previous application, we had the sum total of 4, because you had 2 tenants and then you had 2 frontages. In this case, the property is just that single tenant, and it does have triple street frontage, but again, the ordinance does not make the explicit provision for a third wall sign for a property with triple frontage. And so our recommendation as staff is that they get 4 wall signs, just not 5.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I don't think so. Is there anybody else? Do you have some? Okay, just want to make sure. You want to go ahead and speak? You already swear in too?
I did,
Okay.
I did. I'd like to thank the board for the time, and I wanted to preemptively thank the staff for the recommendation of approval on variance 1 and 2. I'm trying to keep this brief because, I've got 3 pages written out of what I was going to say, but I want to respect your time. When it comes to number 3, which will then inform the approval of variances 4 and 5, no, the sign does not face an immediate road frontage. However, I believe there is special circumstances with the bridge that goes over on northbound 62. There's a bridge that goes over the railroad crossing there, or the railroads. When you're driving on that, the signage for McClellan Drive is at an oblique angle. You're moving at 55 miles an hour. It's about 1,650 feet from the crest of that bridge to where you need to turn in at Pleasant View Drive. That's about 20 seconds at 55 miles an hour. That's not a lot of time for somebody who's in an emergency situation to determine, get into the right lane to determine where they're going. When I visited the site a couple of weeks ago, I knew where it was. I knew where I was going. I had GPS, and I certainly didn't have a medical emergency. Even I found it difficult to navigate there. So we're asking for relief from, on the variance 3, because that sign is higher. It's going to, as you're coming up over the crest, you're immediately going to see a recognizable, company, Baptist, and this is for emergency medical services for it. It's open 24/7, so that's the basis of my argument. I could go into detail, but I want to respect you guys' time. If we then approve the variance number 3, that would kind of lead into approving variance 4 and 5 as well. This is a standard sign package that Baptist wants us to approve. We have had approval at other locations, so I'm hoping that the board will see fit to let us install as is proposed. Did you have any questions?
Well, that sign's a non-exempt sign, correct?
I'm sorry, say again?
That's not an exempt sign, correct?
That's not an exempt sign, yes, ma'am.
The Baptist Health?
The Baptist Health logo.
But the emergency urgent care and the open 24/7?
Yes.
Are exempt and.
And again, it's about that specific special circumstance on that corridor, because we're trying to get people, ambulances, people in emergency situations into this facility safely. That's why Baptist has on their designs signage on all 4 sides of the building. If you see on Exhibit 4, or example for, it's the very last page of my rebuttal. You can see the proposed, the way the green line is where I'm proposing to put the Baptist. See how it's at kind of like about a 110-degree angle to the traffic on 62, where the red line is the McClellan-facing signage as it would, has been proposed for approval as well. It's at an oblique angle and it's difficult to see. There's also the guardrail as you're coming up over that. It's just a special circumstance with a lot of, fast traffic and trying to make decisions in 1,600 feet to move safely, so.
Do we have a picture of what the sign looks like that's allowable on, if you're on McClellan and you look directly to your right? Do we know what that would look like? What signage there? Or does it look just like that?
It looks just like that. It's the same thing on 4 sides.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, it's E14, right?
I don't know.
E14 is number 3.
Yeah, that's number
is
3.
variance 3, yes, ma'am. It's on the back of the building.
Okay, so that's the same on all 4 sides?
Yes. Anything else? I don't want to rush you. Take your time.
So at this time,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me know. I'm right here.
Thank you for the extra
Absolutely.
evidence too.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So all 4 sides will look like this side here, this picture here?
It would have a similar layout, yes, ma'am. It would, with the Baptist Health and the urgent care on all 4 sides, yes.
Okay.
And then for staff recommendations, if we agree with all of the recommendations, you would be under the recommendation that number 5 would be okay to allow 4 signs, is that correct?
Yes, sir, and
Okay.
by approving variance number 2, we would essentially be approving
A 4 sign,
4 wall. Yeah.
but it would still be under the square footage if that other sign was not there, okay,
Yeah, it would be 4 wall signs for a sum total of 244 square feet.
okay.
So it would need the variance for the flat number of wall signs, but not for square foot at that point.
Okay.
And will it have a standalone sign?
Yeah.
Sign?
It's got the
Yeah,
pylon
that's
sign, I
variance
guess,
Yeah,
1.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
the first
And
one he did.
that's on the
Where's
Pleasant
that, you wanna know where that's
View
located?
Drive
Yeah, but
side.
that's what, yeah, I want to know.
Where's that located?
We're talking about coming over the hill, so where is that sign located?
That's located just outside of the triangle. It's, can I have the pointer? That one is right here.
When you're coming in there, yeah.
Okay.
And it's, what was it, 12 feet
Yes,
after
it's
the
12 feet. So it's
recommendations?
going to be included by the roadside guards and the trees along here as well. It's hard to actually see it. I'm assuming that y'all would know better than me. I don't come to Georgetown very often, but I could barely see it. Again, I knew where it was, and it was not until I'm about here, almost parallel with the back, that I can see that this is the building that I was looking for. So again, the freestanding's right here, correctly set back and observing all the other ordinances. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. It could be just, I've been here for a while. Variance 3 is for sign E14,
E14, yes, ma'am.
and E14 is just on one side,
Yes,
not 4 sides.
right.
But we just said it was going to be on 4
The
sides.
layout is similar on all 4 sides. They are labeled differently, but it's the same size sign. So each So each side will have a Baptist Health beacon and letter set, and the emergency and urgent care letter set as well.
But that's not shown on this drawing. Oh, it
Should
says
be.
Baptist Health.
You mean E14?
Yeah.
I think E14 is just to show a zoomed-in version of the Baptist Health, of what it looks like and how big it is. I don't think that's showing the entire facade of the building.
Why not?
May I see what you're looking at there?
Yeah. It's nothing but an advertising sign.
Yes, and so that's the one that's sitting up there, and it's designed, the point would be to bring them into a Baptist Health facility. So it's not so much advertising as letting them know.
But
that
it's
a
just
hospital.
this, that's all that's on that
That's-
side.
Well, no,
No.
in addition, it has the,
It has all of the signs you can see in that facade image there on the PowerPoint.
but E14 is the only non-exempt sign on that wall. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Okay, and obviously I haven't learned how to read well, so, okay, thank you.
But the other, if per staff recommendations, the other 3 walls will say Baptist Health,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Right. And they still will have emergency and 24/7, because those are
Exempt.
exempt.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't have to go through those for those.
Thank you.
All right,
thanks.
thank you.
I do have one more thing. With the other hospital in town, like getting to that one, there's, places where it shows that there's a hospital there.
Right.
Do you know if there's ever any plans to maybe?
That I don't know. In the almost 5 years I've been in the sign industry
Right.
working with this particular client, I have never had any participation in those signs. I'm
Yeah.
assuming like hospital this way, at
Right.
some main
Yeah, it's
intersection
nothing like that
close.
we would decide, but I'm just saying, like, if something like that existed and you already had that there,
Right.
it would change the effect of what is
There
being
are
asked for
no
now.
plans
Right.
for Baptist to engage my company to do that, and
Okay.
I'm not aware of any plans to do so. It seems smart, but that's,
That would be a good idea, coming
yeah,
from that direction.
but it's
because of
not
the
in
blockage.
what I'm dealing with right here, so.
Okay. Well, thanks. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you.
Do we have any motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion that we approve 1 and 2 and deny 3, 4, 5, with the exception that staff is okay with an increase to 4 total signs for 5, or is that considered an approval of 5?
It would be, I'm sorry, let me pull it up here. So it would be approval of, first went to the staff report, obviously the board can make whatever decision they see fit, but it would be approval of variance 1 and 2
Yep,
per staff report, denial of variance 3 and 4,
correct.
and then it would be an
Amendment,
of
okay.
variance number 5 for a increase to 4 wall signs.
Correct.
Instead of an increase to 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. The approval of 1, 2, per staff recommendations, denial of 3, 4 per staff recommendations, and an amendment of 5 to allow, up to 4 total signs per staff recommendations, with the conditions of approval to be met as stipulated.
Got a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you guys for your time this evening.
Absolutely,
you.
thank you.
Be safe out there.
You too,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, I think you're right. Surely if you're coming over that hill with a blockage, you can put something there.
Hey, Chairman,
They can.
did our motion
gosh.
make a recommendation
Do you? You gotta go.
that we had received this rebuttal?
Yes, well, no, it just needs to be noted.
Make it quick, Clem.
He just needs to capture it in the notes.
It's in the minutes.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
I'm gonna leave it up to the board if you, I mean, we have enough to proceed with this one, so would you like to proceed or would you like to give her a hot second or a cool minute?
Yeah. It's getting pretty late, but how about,
You're not the chair.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well,
That was great.
yeah, that was awesome.
What a great call.
Yeah,
I
we'll,
don't have to make these, no, I don't have to, you're not the chair either. I don't have to make these decisions.
I say we roll
Only
with
got
it
one
because
left.
she's been here for the whole meeting.
True.
This one, this is the last case.
I don't think they.
I know that you're really excited to go, but we have this one.
Yeah,
Oh, it was just who, no.
I say we roll with it because she's been here for the majority of the meeting already, so.
All right, and we do still have quorum of the board, so
Right.
we're good with that.
Mhm.
Chad, will you close that door? Just in case, just in case. So this is a conditional use permit, it's actually an amended conditional use permit, for the property address 799 East Jackson Street. It has a pre-existing neighborhood commercial conditional use permit, and they are pursuing a recreational conditional use permit, to operate a community center and gathering space. It is a quarter of an acre parcel, with a driveway off of East Jackson Street, and staff does recommend in favor. This is the zoning here, very hard to contextualize. I will give you one better, which is the map of the site. And so the site is an old warehouse kind of area here that is a residentially zoned parcel and very consistent with the general area where there's kind of potentially some mismatch between the form and the function and the zoning that you assigned. However, this is a kind of commercially constructed site. The applicant was approved for a use permit to operate a commercial prep kitchen, kind of meal service just for pickup, takeout services for residents in the area. They could order ahead, they could pick up the food, and we could proceed accordingly. And they're just kind of looking to expand that. When we're looking at conditional use permits, we're looking at things that can be compatible, but if not managed appropriately, can be detrimental. So it just gets too big, it gets too loud, it gets too much, it doesn't work with the area. But if it was managed, it would work really well. And so I have kind of 4 questions that the board's kind of looking to review when we're talking about a conditional use permit. It's on page 2. I'm not gonna read that out to you guys. So in 2021, when they received their approval, their hours of operation were 10 to 5, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4 on Friday, closed Saturday, Sunday, and they have 5 to 6 staff members. 5 at the most at any given point, 6 people employed. And they had very limited signage. They just have like a window decal on one of their access doors. The applicant is proposing to have a recreational facility, which is a conditional use in all zoning districts, to operate their community gathering place. Their operating details would shift, but staff determines that this isn't a crazy detrimental shift. They are going to be having people there when staff would already naturally be there in the extent of their previously approved conditional use permit, and then have reservations available for people who wanted evening activities. Same thing for the weekends, if that was something that they wanted. They'll have the same number of people on staff, just people would be assigned shifts later to manage those later actions and functions. However, they are proposing to have a public access component of it. So they're shooting for up to 60 projected. Obviously, that's up to the fire marshal's determination. I'm not certain if you guys have contacted them, but if you have not, we've kind of made a condition that essentially it's tied to the number that the fire marshal has, or kind of whatever we have kind of already requested, which I believe is 60. They're looking really to kind of have this operation of a third space, which is this kind of sociology concept where there's kind of 3 spaces you live in. You live where you live, so where you go to bed, where you eat meals, see your family, where you work, because that's where you're spending a lot of your daylight hours. And then there's this concept of this third option, which is a third space that's kind of like this social point. So you're getting all your nutrients, you're getting employment and things, and then you're also getting an option to kind of recreate and engage with people. I have some quotes about it in the staff report. You guys can read that if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. That's a pretty quick summary on what it is. They propose that they're with this addition of the community center function, that they're not going to have like meal service outside of maybe some special event meals where either they're going to cater in or they're going to provide the meal service.
Staff recommends a specific condition of approval that I kind of articulated on the top of page 4 in the second paragraph, which states that the conditional use permit would not facilitate regularly scheduled made-to-order meal service. And that includes regular hours where the general public could come in, order meals, eat meals on the property, and then leave, and they pay for it all, and kind of in that same environment, very similar to a downtown restaurant. You could order food, you could order food online, you could pick up food and take it home, you could order it and put in the store, pick it up in the store and then leave. You could also have special events, because that's not regularly scheduled, those are just sometimes scheduled. And staff believes that that would allow for them to kind of do some special events in the evenings while also kind of facilitate their existing use permits and just kind of make sure that this doesn't become a regularly scheduled business. If we start looking at restaurant operating hours where we're saying, okay, we're gonna have meal service, we're gonna have breakfast, lunch, dinner, then we're really gonna have to talk about doing some type of rezoning, just because the residential district that they're operating within doesn't really leave an allocation for restaurant use. But for right now, with the way that you can craft conditions, you can create an option where they can kind of do, we'll call it the best of both worlds, where they get to keep both of their use permits functioning. A big conversation that staff has had, and a lot of reservations that staff has had and community concerns have been, is parking on the site. So they show 7 spaces on the parking, or on the site right now on the quarter-acre parcel. And then in their initial application, they were talking about utilizing street parking. Staff had there's kind of we'll call it an orange flag for us, because we want to make sure that in an area that is characterized by a lot of street parking for either personal vehicles or guest vehicles, that you're not taking away a resident's option to enjoy their property and drive and park in front of their house or on the same street as their house. If an event is occurring, the residents in the neighborhood shouldn't have to be forced to kind of go somewhere else just because something is happening up the street off of East Jackson. And so, this is just kind of the same image as before. We oftentimes look at churches and other areas that maybe don't have those operating hours that are typical business or evening hours. And in lack of those, we are looking at kind of our institutions. So specifically, the nearest parking lots are the Georgetown maintenance parking area, as well as a Georgetown student lot. I understand that Georgetown is very particular about their student lot parking, so that may not be an option, but I'll let the applicant speak to it. It sounds like they may have created a relationship potentially with the college to facilitate some off-street parking, which it would be off-street, it would not be on their site. They would potentially be pursuing some type of lease or some type of rental situation. Again, I'm really gonna let them speak to it, but it sounds like the concerns, or at least staff's major concerns, of interrupting neighborhood dynamics by having guest parking on the streets that people rely heavily on for their personal vehicle parking have been addressed. In light of that, if that doesn't work out, staff does have a condition kind of written up that talks to that parking component, just to make sure that we keep that in mind going forward, and we're all kind of aware and having that dialogue consistently. Staff ultimately kind of makes the 5 findings here. First is just talking about logistics of the property. Second is about their previously approved use permits. Third is that what they're asking for, what type of permit qualification it would be under. Fourth is that staff believes that it would not impact public health, safety, welfare, nor alter the character. It would have consistent operating hours with the previously approved conditional use permit, and it would have reservation-only evening hours, which is good for making sure that this is not a consistent disruption of people's time when they're home after work or home after school, and that it would not adversely impact public health, safety, welfare, but it could alter the parking character, which I believe, again, as I've stated, sounds like they may have found a solution that benefits kind of their plans for the future. So ultimately, with all these things considered, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit with 9 conditions of approval. First 2 typical to, next one, just listen to your old conditions of approval, which that does include a preclusion of parking on East Jackson Street due to some width limitations. 4 is just saying that you said your operating hours were going to be this. We want to keep you on those same operating hours. We don't want to see some changes around. If they ultimately identify that they need to do a little bit later, a little bit earlier, some actually consistently scheduled Saturday, Sunday hours, we would just ask that they come and amend their conditional use permit just to clarify that, hey, Community rec area, that's gonna happen on Saturdays now, from like 12 to 2, for some reason. If they wanted that really limited window, they could just make that a consistent schedule change. All those kind of things. The on-street parking, again, I just kind of reiterated it. And this kind of speaks to finding an alternative arrangement for off-site, also off-street parking. The sixth condition has to deal with the occupants of the building, so it's determined by the fire marshal prior to the start of the use, unless they, and at no point shall exceed 60 individuals. We're kind of understanding that 60 is their idealized cap. If the fire marshal says that 60 is actually a little bit less than the building is actually having, we would ask that they just come back and just give a quick status update and be like, hey, fire marshal said we could have 67. Can we have 7 additional people in this building? And we would say, maybe, and we would just check that one. I can't say for certain, I don't want to jump ahead of the gun on how many people you guys are going to be cool with on that building, nor do I want to interrupt or misconstrue what the fire marshal is going to say. So we want to just make sure that everyone's just kind of aware and that dialogue's always open. 7 is the same pretty much thing, just saying, if you need fire extinguishers or you need to sprinkle the building, sprinkle the building. The fire department's going to be the main one for that one. And then condition 8 and 9, 8 has to deal with just making sure that you're not having restaurant operations, and that's where I call out that regularly scheduled made-to-order meal service option. Again, catering events on a limited occasion, they're not regularly scheduled, that's okay. Arriving on the property, or like doing their takeout service or their pickup service is not eating in the building, that's okay. Eating in the building on a regularly scheduled increment, that's the restaurant line. Or at least that's what staff believes is to be the restaurant line. Obviously, it's up to you guys. If you disagree with me, please let me know. And then condition 9 is just to return to us, just to kind of give us a status update. We can help understand if there's increased evening hours, if they need to lease more space, if they're seeing different kind of changes in their business dynamic where they want to add different services. We can kind of evaluate those things then and just really see, are we seeing any conflicts? Are we seeing actually really healthy dynamic? Like, we just want to make sure that our conditional use permits are really working with our communities and kind of making sure that they're not causing consistent detriment or taking away from the character. Is there anything for me? I understand I kind of ripped through that pretty quickly, but if there's not any questions from the board, I'll let the applicant and some of their representation come up.
Sure. We're good.
Or neighborhood concerns.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, perfect.
Go ahead.
I wish it would have been appropriate to bring you all dinner. We've been here for a while. So as Elise said, as far as the parking, finding off-street parking, we are in talks with Georgetown College. We had a meeting with them just this last week, and we've got, they plan to have like a proposal of several different options, you know, how we could agree on the lease to me by August 31st. So that is in the works, and I'll be honest, that's what I prefer to have for the people that would come and visit. Again, it's just kind of a unique site where I've got this really big building and very limited parking, and again, just the R2 zoning really makes no sense when I have a house next to me and then the rest is industrial and zoned as such. So I'm kind of in a no man's land there, but doing the best we can to, you know, provide a space for the community. And yeah. Any questions from me?
I like the concept,
Thank
and I like how you're, you know, starting off the way you are. What kind of, like, as we go, and I'm sure you'd have to come back before us again if things grow, like, is there any type of safeguards you have right now? Like, I could see people going, oh my gosh, have you talked to this association, HOA? Have you talked to the tourism department? You know, I can see where people are gonna wanna get involved in this, and I guess like with the mission and vision that you have. Just wanna kinda hear where you are at the moment with that, and like where you can see this wanting to go. Cause I know we're making a decision based on the facts now, but like, you know, what you could possibly wanna go to one day.
I can tell you
Be good
where
to know
I
that.
don't want to go. I have
Okay.
zero interest in owning a restaurant, which is
Okay.
exactly why I got into this business 14 years ago. So I cooked in clients' homes. COVID kind of changed things a little bit, and my kids got older, so I could be out of the house a little bit more. And that's when we found this property and decided to develop it into that commercial kitchen. We have a really loyal client base that we've learned their names, we know their dietary needs, we know. And so it's just already a community space. And I've had so many people come in and they see, I open up a sliding door to the back room and they walk back and they're like, wow, this is such a neat building. Like, you should do events back here. Again, it's big, but it's not as big as it might seem. Parking's an issue. And I'm already working a ton of hours and just trying to grow responsibly. So everybody wants to make money, but I don't do this because I want to make money. I love loving on our neighbors. I love inviting the community in. We have done a community dinner, and all of the proceeds, I just had people, there was a QR code and they could donate whatever they would like to donate, and we split that between the Amen House and Georgetown-Scott County and Elizabeth's Village. And so, that's the kind of thing, we have families in and they threw down a blanket and, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for, big expensive weddings and parties and stuff like that. I just want a place for people to gather that don't have a house that can fit 60 people, community game nights, things like that just, a place for good, clean fun, I guess, so.
Well, thank you. Does anybody else have anything? No? Does anybody want to make a motion, or is there anybody else here? Sorry, I didn't know you were here to speak to.
For the record, my name is Chad Wallace. I own the property at 401 Avondale, right here. It's adjacent to Dunn in the Kitchen. And let me just say this about Michelle and Jason. In 2021, I was here when they got their conditional use permit, and they have done everything they said they were going to do when they got their conditional use permit. So I'm not up here complaining. I am concerned about the parking. They are trying to address it. It makes sense that there's a huge parking lot right here and that they could utilize that. And I will be happy to email or write Dr. Allen or contact if you want me to on your behalf or to encourage that. I will be happy to do that. And all I am concerned about is the parking for my tenants that live at 401 Avondale. I will say that we got to think a little bit through this a little bit of what the staff's recommendation is. And I'm in support of what the staff is recommending and the conditions of approval. However, let's talk about what that really means. So if there's no parking for Dunn in the Kitchen and their events on Fountain, Avondale, East Jackson, what does that look like? So if you call the police department and if somebody parks at one of these properties and they call the police department and they come and show up and say, hey, somebody's parking there and they're not allowed to park there. Most of the police officers are not going to know what a conditional use permit says in this event. So I have talked to Captain Crump and Captain Lodel. So what does this look like? How does this play out? And so what they would have to do is put residential parking signage on only on Fountain, East Jackson, and Avondale. All we're trying to do is prevent problems from happening in the future. So if you all approve this, we don't want anybody to get upset with Dunn in the Kitchen, and we don't want a confrontation between people parking where they're not supposed to. It makes it clear for everyone. So I did want you all to know that if you all approve this, staff would need to send over the conditional use permit to Georgetown PD so they can get the proper signage up that says residential parking. And they have done that in this area before, over in Georgetown College area on Clayton, and Dudley, I believe, Hollyhock, if I'm not mistaken. they're already doing that currently, but that has to do for Georgetown College students to know where to park and where not to park. So I just want you all to understand, these are the unintended consequences we get sometimes when we take action. Outside of that, I'm in support of them, and as long as they continue to pursue Georgetown College, and even if they don't, if it doesn't work out, then I guess we'll have to come back to the drawing board and try to figure out something. But that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Do we need to have any discussion on it, or
Well,
do you have any questions?
this says that Jackson only has, it's only 20 to 22 feet, which means you can't park on the street anyway.
Correct, yes.
So if you put up a sign that says residents, people are gonna park there because they think they can.
Well, so people are gonna park on whatever kind of width street if they think that they can park there. And so like if there's not clear signage, no matter what, people are gonna park on roads like the place that I live at, just people park wherever they please. In certain parts of Jackson Street, it is wider than the 20 to 25 feet, or the 20 to 22 feet. From kind of here to here, we're looking at that kind of typical width. When you start getting kind of around Fountain, it does start to get wider enough to justify that additional kind of parking component where people can start parking on the street here. But otherwise, like in this general area, it is pretty narrow. And honestly, so, yeah, I can't really stop that one, but that is kind of a police enforcement action if they're having that with conflict.
So a little bit of local knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
I happen to live right here. This is where my house is.
Like, yeah, that's fine.
That's-
Yeah, he lives on that wall.
Lives on that wall, right between the,
But no, on Fountain Avenue, right about here. And so I can tell you, yeah, right here, this is utilized for on-street parking. We don't typically see any on-street parking here. But on both Avondale and Fountain, there is quite a bit of on-street parking that is utilized by residents. And so we do very much want to eliminate, competing interests along there. So that's a good condition. We don't expect our fine PD officers to enforce our conditions. Typically, again, if we have those sorts of complaints, they funnel on to my office, and then I would reach out to the applicant and make sure that she's the one, because ultimately she's the one responsible for meeting those conditions. And then if we're ever failing to meet those, we'd come back here. And that's the other thing we've put in here, and this was one of the original conditions, to revisit this in a year and come back and take a look at it. I think that ongoing conversation, again, with it being an R2 zone property, allows for us to make sure that we're not seeing those unintended consequences. But I do know those no parking signs you're talking about.
Yeah. And condition 6 is to come back and review in 12 months regardless.
Yep.
Of anything.
Exactly.
Okay.
Any further questions? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve based on staff recommendations. You can second it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
So we have one more thing, guys.
All right, guys, we're gonna move.
No, we don't.
you don't believe
Oh. Yeah.
So at
Was not
the
necessary.
previous Board of Adjustment meeting, there was discussion about amending the bylaws to have a new article that specifically addresses rules around continuance. We had I think, a discussion last month. If you'd like, I could read again the language that we're proposing. Alternatively, if the board feels comfortable with it, we can just have a motion and move on.
Yeah, that's the one Charlie went over last month, yep.
It was sent to us by email, too.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve it as proposed.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Jimmy good.
Okay, staff has nothing further.
All right, meeting
Thank you, guys.
meeting is adjourned.
Ooh.